has officially begun.
Cars are lined up on the grid. The iRacing.com World Championship Grand Prix Series. We are underway. They all come down into turn one for the first time. So far, there have been 13 rounds of the iRacing.com World Championship Grand Prix Series, and of those 13 rounds, it's been a very similar story to 2010, 2012, 13 and 14, where it's the Flying Finn, Team Red Line's #1, Gregor Hutu, who is atop of the mountain. Now, this time last year, this was the track that almost saw the entire season flipped upside down, in some cases, quite literally. It is where we had the biggest crash in, up to that point, World Championship history. And it was one of two races in the back end of the 2014 season that saw Gregor Hutu claim a DNF. Martin Kroenke for Commander Simsport at this point was starting to lead a new charge forward. But he needs more than that this year, because even if he's to win each of the 3 remaining races, he has to ask for help from Mr. Hutu if there's any way of him claiming his first World Championship crown. As always, we kick things off with qualifying here. This is a special presentation of RaceSpotTV on iRacingLive. So very welcome to everyone who's joining us for the first time, and a warm welcome also to those of you who are series regulars. Will Vincent and Johnny Simone here on RaceSpotTV will be part of the action with you all afternoon long, with qualifying and then into the race, which will start in just about 40 minutes time. Well, Johnny, we talk about this racetrack, and it is one which is arguably the most famous in all of motorsports outside of Spa, because it's Suzuka. It's that figure of 8, and it's that only figure of 8 race on the championship. So yeah, Monaco, maybe Spa goes into that list, maybe also Monza, but this in its own way is mighty special.
It certainly is. Welcome everybody to another round, and it's good to be here as well, back into the booth and back into a great viewing spot we have right behind our screens, looking at all these drivers racing. And yes, Suzuka is absolutely thrilling. No room for error, especially on iRacing's laser scan version. We know turn 1's a little bit different now, and a few of the corners have been tarmacked and patched up, but certainly, you know, not expecting clean racing, because we're going to expect drivers to really push to the absolute limit of racing room today. Qualifying at the moment, and we'll see who has the best setup and which drivers have the most confidence to push right up close to the grass and right up close to those white lines.
Yeah, we're riding along board then with Gregor Hutu in the number 1 Fnatic Team Red Line car. Now, plenty to talk about in the sim racing world over the last couple of days. Dynamic tracks. We'll talk about that between qualifying and the race. You can see some of the qualifying times are already up. Mitchell de Jong, strong once again. Mogar Philo to second place. Cronka's in third. Then Jeremy Boutaloop and Ollie Piccardo. We will stick it for just one more moment then with Gregor Hutu, who exits himself out of this triangle, down through the final corner. Lap number 1 for Gregor Hutu. Is it going to be a fast one? It doesn't look to be the fastest. It will be only P number 6, de Jong, going to head himself out the final corner. Will this be a better lap for Mitchell de Jong? I believe he's actually starting a new lap now. So his qualifying time so far, 1:30.766 for the second race in a row. Mogar Philo is just absolutely exceptional in that Radicals Online car, Johnny.
Oh, well, good job from him, and he's going to carry his form hopefully into 2016, I should say, next year, because he needs a strong campaign for him. This season it's been good, but you obviously want to be winning races and getting into the top 10 in the championship. He's currently ranked 11th behind Jake Sterios, but for Gregor Hutu, that lap was basically butchered into that final corner, ran wide coming in on the entry, and lots of wheel spin on the exit. So both he and Ollie Pakula now, who are 6th and 7th respectively, that's Pakula 6th, Hutu 7th, will certainly improved. Just getting that sort of so they don't start at least in 30th position.
Yep. And there are more drivers than we have spots. We'll talk about that one, the rules that they do for the World Championship when we have more than 35 drivers wishing to participate. There is Mitchell de Jong. We ride on board with him then as he works himself down to the famous 130-yard corner. This was reprofiled after Adam McNish's horrific crash here back in 2003 into the triangle, slowest corner on the racetrack. As you now exit the corner, be careful when your car wants to fall away from you here. You can see the back end sliding out a little bit for de Jong. His fastest 1:30.766. Will he improve? Answer to that question is no, he will not. De Jong remains in P1, but there's more drivers to come past the start finish line. We've got a couple of them on track right now. There is Mogar Philo. He's circulating on a lap. Andre Borcher just moves himself past the start finish line. He's up into position. Having a look though at Mr. 4-time, that is Gregor Hutu down the back straight away. He will come once again. This is his chance to get pole position. 1:31.122 last time by for him. This is the corner he messed up last time. Can he be a little bit better into the triangle on his second time advancing? He will not be doing any laps after this one. Cronke is also out on the racetrack, but for Gregor Hutu, he crosses the start finish line, and this is going to be, by the looks of it, an actual new lap for him now. So actually he has got one more lap to go. Philo, impressive. Jake Sturgis, we've not seen him be strong for a while. He's up into P3, Johnny.
Yeah, Sturgis, nice job. He's been consistent all season, and that's what you need out of your driver to finish races. And how is he going to fare? Currently P3 in this first group of qualifying. We know that they split it into 2 groups today, so only 19 of them out here at the moment. But for Hutu on that lap is crucial. Pakula in front of him and Hugo Luis behind him need to nail these laps, or else they're going to start well down the field, even past P10.
And that's exactly what the issue was for Gregor Hutu last time. That was the reason why he was involved in that pileup, because of the fact he qualified out of position. Martin Cronke, he needs to be at the front of the field. If Hutu's going to struggle in qualifying, Cronke is going to have to be there to respond. There you can see Cronke, there you can see Gregor Hutu. So Cronke will come past the start-finish line first. We go back. Jeremy Boutaloop, pole position for Jeremy Boutaloop, away from our screens for the time being. That is a huge shocker. Cronke out the final corner. This could be the most exciting grid in series history. Cronke going to come past the start finish line. He's going to get himself onto a lap. Let's go back and have a look at Gregor Hutu. This one has really kicked itself now. This is surprising, but can Hutu upset the party? No, he can't. P8 only for Gregor Hutu. Jeremy Boutaloop has basically meant we've got a Radicals Online car in P1, Radicals Online in P number 3. Paul Lilbrink still has another lap to go as well. This could be the best qualifying in the history of the Radicals Online organisation.
absolutely incredible. They got a gem in Jeremy Bootloop up there, and I'm not surprised he's in pole. He's always had the talent. Another man who is looking to improve, as I mentioned, Hugo Luis, who's coming towards the end of his lap. For Hutu, it was all butchered in the final corner again. Can Hugo nail the end of his lap right?
Yeah, well, let's have a look. Hugo Luis, that exit final corner for him. We are waiting to see what the 2011 Series champion can do as he works himself past the start-finish line. And it's pole position for Hugo Luis. It's been a while since he's been on top of the timing stands, but by 12 one-thousandths of a second, it will be Hugo Luis for the time being. He was actually saying, before we went on air, that he was struggling. He nails one there in the dying moments of qualifying. 2-minute warning then. Martin Kroenke has still got himself a chance, and Pakala just goes to the top of the timing stand. So now it's Ollie Pakala who has pole position, waiting for Kroenke. Can he now upset the party? What a crazy qualifying as Kroenke does it as well. Martin Kroenke, Ollie Pakala, Hugo Luis, Jeremy Bootloop, Mitchell de Jong. Still one or two more that can spring a surprise here. But what a crazy up and down, topsy-turvy qualifying session. Gregor Hutu will start this race no better than P number 11. Two more drivers we need to pay attention to. Matt Backham, we can have a look at him in the number 75 car. Exit of the hairpin. He now works himself down this long back straightaway as it comes down towards Boone Cove. This is where Eddie Irvine had so many issues in his 1999 championship. There you can also see Paul Ilbrink in the number 16 car, heading himself now up towards Boone himself. So it's realistically, it's just going to be two Radical Online drivers vying to get themselves into the field. Tommaso Carla is also on another lap in the Movano Thrustmaster car. May not make it back to the start-finish line in time. Matt Backham, here you can see the Radicals car into the triangle. P13 would not be his best qualifying. He may even struggle to make the grid with that speed. He needs to go a bit faster and he's going to lose it there. Final corner towards the start-finish line. Well, there's a qualifying ruined for Matt Backham in the 75 car, Johnny. And that all was because of that final corner, the gradient, once you come out the triangle. And it's very off-camber, that final corner. We'll talk about it in detail. Paul Ilbrink being very tepid through that corner himself.
Yeah, and he crosses the line and will not improve. So he's, wow, only 0.006 of a second slower than his other time. So he will start in, we don't know which position, but he's P12 in this first group. But for Kroenke, wow, I think we see a new build will rub it in track, and we see how entertaining qualifying becomes as the timer does tick down to 0 with only a couple more cars. I think somebody improved in the last seconds there. I'm not quite sure. It might have been Tommaso Carlo. It was.
Yep, so there we are, ladies and gentlemen. What a qualifying. What a qualifying it has been here at Suzuka. Here's a look at your final qualifying results. Wow. It's not very often we have a qualifying that exceptional. Now, some of these drivers, they made it work in the final couple of minutes in qualifying. Martin Kroenke, qualifying time 1:30.650, will lead the field at the start of this race down into turn number 1 for Commander Sim Sports. Team Redline alongside them on the front row of the grid, 28 one-thousandths of a second behind Kroenke. Hugo Luis, his best qualifying in quite a while. He will line up to the inside of row number 2, just 12 one-thousandths of a second ahead of Jeremy Bootloop, as Radicals Online are once again showing how they can be a team to mix it up with the very best in the series. Mitchell de Jong led the early part of qualifying, falls back to P5 overall. He's just over a 10th off pace. Then Mo Garfilo in 6th, with Rocco Baroni in 7th place for Coanda. Jake Sturgios in 8th, always a threat at these Japanese racetracks. Then a couple of German drivers, and row number 5, Andre Borcher for Coanda Sim Sports, and Movano Thrustmaster X Team Patrick Holtzman alongside him in row number 5. You head on back. There you can see the big one. P number 11, Gregor Hutu, Team Redline, 0.4 of a second off of the pace. We'll show you some of the reasons why when we come back in a couple of moments. Paul Ilbrink in 12th, Backham, Carla, Simpson, Price, Hamilton, Avery and Tanahote all also setting qualifying times. 18 of those 19 separated within 1 second. Now, we will step aside in just one moment, but before we do that, Johnny, we just need to talk about the fact that some of these drivers might not race. Matt Backham, well, qualifying as touchy as he did, he might be one of those drivers struggling. The way it works is very simple. If you are an iRacing.com World Championship licensed driver and you qualify, you show up for the race, you get priority over any pro licensed driver. Now, the issue is that Matt Backham and a couple of others, we call it racing up. So they've got a pro license, they'll be running this fall in the iRacing.com Pro Series of Road Racing. They are not guaranteed eligibility to these events if they show up, but they can attempt to qualify.
Yeah, certainly. So it's good to see, in terms of experience. I think that's good that iRacing keeps that rule going on for now and beyond in the future. But for some drivers, obviously, they're just here to compare themselves and to these World Championship drivers. Some of them are quite off the pace, so they're going to have to really search for improvements. I know guys like Marcus Hamilton, who's somebody I've been in a race against before. He's down in 17th, and he's rapidly quick down the back of the order, but as soon as you start to get more experience against World Championship guys, you find those extra few tenths you need, and you slowly develop yourself as a driver. So experience is crucial, and learning is also crucial. So we get that today with these Pro Series drivers taking on the world's best in qualifying.
Well, we're going to step aside for just a couple of moments, ladies and gentlemen. When we return, we'll get a look at the pole lap from Martin Kroenke, and we'll show you what went wrong with Gregor Hutu in qualifying, which is why he starts well down the field in P number 11. You are watching a special presentation of RaceSpotTV on iRacingLive.
The NASCAR Peak Antifreeze Series powered by iRacing.com has officially begun.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to coverage of this, the iRacing.com World Championship Grand Prix Series here on RaceSpotTV. Will Vinton along with the one and only Mr. Johnny Simone. As Johnny, one of the greatest qualifyings I think we've had in all of series history, but we still got a race to go. And that in itself is going to be highly entertaining. We just saw the dynamic track conditions video. And that really just kind of sums up all the excitement. And we think we saw a little bit of that today in qualifying with some drivers falling foul.
Yeah, certainly. I mean, what an entertaining session. Dynamic tracks doing its job, and that's been implemented, excuse me, by iRacing recently. And I mean, it's good to see. And it's going to be how. It's going to see how I can't speak today. We're going to see how crucial it is for drivers in the future to really nail their laps towards the end of qualifying. I mean, you know, we saw Hutu there with 3 minutes to go, did not go back out onto the track. And not only was he struggling, you know, getting that car around cleanly, he was also struggling to really, you know, make it through a lap harmless. You know, and it's just so hard at Suzuka in terms of getting set up right. And I'm surprised that Hutu, out of all tracks, has qualified so low. But in the end, we're going to see if he gets a clean start. He's going to need it. He basically really just needs to finish up high right now. You know, he can't really take too many risks. He's starting around a few guys I know, such as Patrick Holtzman there, who's a fast starter. So maybe you can follow him throughout the course of the start.
Martin Kroenke, this is the pole lap on board with the Ferrari Carrera Simsport number 2 driver. Heading himself then down in towards turn number 1. Listen to the engine note. Pretty much flat through turn 1. Slam it down a couple of gears as you go into turn 2. Now, this is like Maggers and Beckett's at Silverstone, just for gradient. It's very difficult. Mess up one piece of the S's, then you've pretty much messed up the entire lap. Throw half a second away. Out of the S's, if you survive, you climb up the hill into Dunlop curve. It's that left-hander. A bit of a blip there on the gear for Martin Kroenke as he now comes down into Denger. Denger number 1. High speed, slow it down for getting a 2. Be careful not to run too wide on the exit of the corner. You can unsettle the car. Now you come down into the hairpin. It is literally, as it says, 180-degree left-hand corner, first gear, exit, wind the car out as you now, this is the back straightaway, but you're always turning at this racetrack. So really, it's 3 very gentle right-handers before you come down into Spoon Curve. Let it go down a gear. Shine the apex as much as you can, then hold it tight for the second part of Spoon Curve. Now, all the way down this very long back straightaway. And again, you're still turning the car, so you can't not pay attention. You've got the club pits on the right-hand side. Now you come down into 130R, over the bridge you go, into 130R, flat out for Kroenke. Lovely transition, no back wheel slide at all for him as he comes down into the triangle. This is the slowest section of the racetrack. There is what we'll talk about in a moment. The final corner, just go past the Ferris wheel. That is a lap if you want to get pole position for the iRacing.com World Championship Grand Prix Series. Martin Kroenke did that one absolutely perfectly. Now, if we can, we're going to try and find ourselves a look at Gregor Hutu now. So we're going to have a look on board with him. We're going to get ourselves a couple of looks actually, and it's probably best to have a look from another angle to start here, Johnny. Hutu's is going to work himself behind the tree so you can see into the 130R. Now we're going to slow it down, and the reason you were talking about here, he just lost it coming into braking there, just got that car a little bit too wide, and from there that car was always struggling to hit the apex of the triangle. You miss up the first piece, from there on in, you're always going to be a passenger, always trying to find time, when in reality, it's just falling away from you.
Yeah, it certainly is. It's a corner you really need to practice. You know, every corner at this racetrack is critical. You lose concentration for one of them, you're going to lose tenths. So that's why it's so important. It's mentally challenging, especially that casino triangle. Your braking point is something that shouldn't really change. You know, in qualifying, you know that it's the same braking point, the same fuel. So at the same time, he's trying to find those extra few thousandths maybe, since it's so close near the front of the order. So he's probably pushing a little bit too hard, but as you said, you mess up the first part of Casino Triangle, the exit's going to get worse and worse. So you can see that wheel spin as well, and he just struggled towards the end of the lap. I don't think that's the only place where he lost time, but that's definitely one of the places where he lost a significant amount of tenths compared to everyone else.
Yeah, as you can see, we'll speed it back up. You can see the impact there is also down into the final corner, like car slip sliding away. Our aerial coverage here today brought to you by And One Design, the official graphics partner of RaceSpotTV. Well, some teams have had it very lucky, have had it very, well, been very good, and Radicals, again, we talk about Radicals in glowing lights, and I'm talking about Philo, because Philo, I've been commentating off him ever since I've started doing this, but this was back in, 2012, on the iRacing.com Pro Series of Road Racing, and Philo is an incredible driver. He has some bad luck at times, but when he nails a lap, he nails it better than pretty much anyone else I know. And here today, he's joined by Jeremy Booterloop in the top 10, two Radical drivers one in P4, one in P6. And that's even before we consider the fact that Matt Backham, who set that team alight recently, had a horrible qualifying.
Yeah, it's good to know that the team there is getting along well, most certainly, and you can tell that just by the way that they perform on the racetrack, the way that you communicate with each other in terms of developing not just setups, but developing, you know, strategy and lines and how you approach qualifying, and you share so many details with each other, and you see that on the racetrack you take pleasure in seeing your teammate out there succeeding and getting great results. So for them, it's just head up and straightforward. You know, Mogar is an excellent driver. Bootloop is somebody I think is really one of the most underrated, probably the most underrated racer on this grid. So for those two, you've always got to keep one eye on them on the standings, and they will certainly surprise you. But for me, it's not really surprise because I expect that from these guys.
Yeah, there you can see a lovely super slow-mo look at Radicals in line, Jeremy at Bootaloop. Couple of people have struggled. We'll talk about the obvious one in a moment. Alex Simpson had a great qualifying last time out. Miserable this time. Matt Backham, miserable qualifying. The likes also have Isaac Price, a lot further down the field than what we would normally ever expect to see them. And I think this comes back down to, we're talking about that dynamic track conditions here. And I think it took a couple of people off their game because you don't necessarily know how things are going to be until you literally strap yourself into that virtual Williams FW31 and you basically head out of pit road, turn that pit limiter off, and blind faith go down in towards turn number 1.
The thing with a dynamic track is something, you know, I've experienced quite a bit as well, is you can tell apart the drivers who are able to succeed on a static racetrack whereby they're pretty much acting as a robot and you're basically relying on your muscle memory to brake and turn into corners, and drivers who, you know, might succeed in more of a rally scene where everything is unpredictable, you don't know what's going to go on corner after corner. So that's the thing with dynamic track. You realize towards the end of the session, when you start pushing more, that slight little bit more, the car just grips in, especially the front end on a track that just rubbers in. So, you know, for those guys who struggled, you have your days, you don't. And when you struggle at Suzuka, you struggle at Suzuka. There's no doubt about it. So we see today those drivers being caught out by qualifying and the new dynamic track.
Well, we will give you a look then at your full starting grid. When we come back, ladies and gentlemen, we can tell you that 36 drivers attempted to qualify. As it stands, it'll be Marin S. Kolak who will not start the race by virtue of him qualifying in P number 36. Pablo Lopez fans, there might be a chance he might not be able to start the race either. We'll keep you up to date with that one, but there is a chance that there will be no Pablo GoPro Lopez. Again, because of that Pro Series World Championship rule we were talking about a moment ago. Now, ladies and gentlemen, that concludes our coverage of qualifying here for round number 14 of the iRacing.com World Championship Grand Prix Series. Don't forget, it is an incredibly busy day here on RaceSpotTV and on iRacingLive. A little bit later on this evening, we are going to have ourselves the Skip Barber 2K Eliminator. If you watch Sunday Night Skippies, you know how exciting it is when you make it that the last driver in the field is eliminated. Yeah, it's a bit like the old Mario Kart games, but you know what? It's incredibly fun. That is coming up this evening here on RaceSpotTV. And don't forget also, a little bit later on today, literally 20 minutes after we finish our broadcast, we're going to head ourselves to Texas Motor Speedway. And we're going to honour the life and the memory of the great gentle giant, Mr. Justin Wilson. That will be here on RaceSpotTV and on iRacingLive. So don't go anywhere. We are your place for all of the action. All afternoon. This is game day, yes, but this is race day also here on iRacingLive. So we're going to step aside. We'll be back with the race after these messages. You're watching RaceSpotTV on iRacingLive.
Nick Candy, what a move. Truex on the outside, contact made. 56 slides it in at 4. Who's going to be at the stripe? Did even give it to Ryan Truex. Truex is your winner over Tandy.
Cars are lined up on the grid. The iRacing.com World Championship Grand Prix Series. We are underway. They all come down into turn 1 for the first time. As a race commentator, you are always told to expect the unexpected, but yeah, you still have to do all your homework. You've got to prepare a theme when you come into one of these big broadcasts, and the theme was going to be how Gregor Hutu is in touching distance of another World Championship. But then qualifying happened, and Gregor Hutu starting well down the field. This happened last year with Gregor Hutu, and he ended up being involved in one of the biggest start crashes in all of series history. And he's going to have to survive lap number 1 on an incredibly technical, difficult racetrack once again. Now, if he can survive, if he can make strategy work, he can leave here today with one hand on $10,000 and one hand on his 5th World Championship. But it's not going to be easy, because there's plenty of drivers that want to get in the way, and they want to get themselves to the top of the timing stands themselves. Radicals Online have had themselves a great qualifying. Trying the sim sports, pulled one out of nowhere. Hugo Ruiz, his best qualifying in ages. And for Martin Cronke, he's done the one thing that he has to do, and that was start this race on pole position. We're going to run yourself then through your starting grid for this round number 14 of the iRacing.com World Championship Grand Prix Series. And there you can see, it's the German Martin Cronke starting on pole position with Ollie Picardo for Team Redline alongside him on that front row of the grid. Hugo Ruiz and Jeremy Bootlube in row number 2. As you head on back, you can see that you've got Mitchell de Jong in row number 3 with Mo Garfilo. 2 very good qualifyings by those. Sebastian Job, once again strong in qualifying there for Apex Racing UK, leading that team's charge. And Rocco Baroni on the outside of row number 4. Yona Tamano, a good day for him then in the iNext Racing car. Then Andre Borcher alongside him in row number 5. Patrick Holtzman, Kazuki Yamashima, P11 and 12. Gregor Hutu, get this, P number 13 on the grid. That literally is in the mid-pack. He's joined on row number 7 by Antoine Heglin in the Apex Racing UK car. And I tell you one thing, Heglin is going to want to make sure he doesn't get too much wheel put in for this race. Paul Ilbrink P15, Matt Backham, P16. It's an all radicals, row number 8. Then Tommaso Carla, Alex Simpson, Isaac Price and Marcus Hamilton rounding out your top 20. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Will Vincent, along with the one and only Mr. Johnny Simone, as we are here at Suzuka. Now, important thing to note here, wheel spin at this start is going to be critically important. As Pablo Lopez fans, you did just see that, he is qualified for this race. Alexi Isiakola all the way down at the rear of the field. Wheel spin going to be critically important, and this is not the widest track that we go to, Johnny. It's a little bit narrow, and that means we can have some very interesting moments standing towards turn number 1.
Yeah, we certainly will. The start is going to be all driver induced, so obviously it's going to be more driver related this time out in terms of difficulty and skill. It's no longer easy. We've heard of drivers using the tallest first gear setting. It still doesn't help in terms of the start. Looking down the order, I spoke about Hutu. Holtzman starting in front of him. He really needs to pay attention, to these guys, maybe in warm-up in the last sessions. Look at their practice starts and which drivers are sort of getting away in the best position possible. And if they're around Gregor, can sort of just follow them in front of him and maybe on his pursuit towards making a few positions into turn 1. But yeah, these starts with this new build is absolutely critical. Expect Alexi at the back, who is an incredible starter. Obviously, except for Okiyama, where he was on pole and dropped down 5 positions, he will certainly make his way up through the field in the early laps.
Indeed so. I'm having a look. Sebastian Joe, P number, well, he's in practice right now. P number 7 on the grid. The issue with Sebastian Joe, when he started high up through the field, Johnny, is he struggled. So, for Sebastian, this is going to be interesting. I think the entire flow of the mid-pack will come down to what Sebastian Job can do here in this event. Just having a look there, Andre Borcha, one of the many drivers currently on this racetrack. I think Sebastian Job will be critical simply because of the fact, if he messes up the start as he's done twice this year, you're going to get that stack up into turn number 1, and that is where things can start getting a little bit hairy.
Yeah, and if they don't get hairy or messy, it'll certainly impede most drivers with traffic. And traffic at this track, even in warm-up now, if you've been watching a little bit, drivers are struggling in terms of dirty air. I saw one of the red line drivers throw the car into spoon behind another driver, and they just could not turn into the corner. They ran wide as well. So it's absolutely critical at this stage to practice in front of or behind drivers just to get used to the dirty air. But if you have a clean start and you have a clear track ahead, expect to break away from the slower guys behind.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, any moment now, the checkered flag will come out. There we are. 0 almost on cue. Qualifying is done. Race warm-up is done. The talking here now stops if you're one of the 35 drivers on the starting grid. Of course, if you're us, we're just starting with the talking. We'll be with you all afternoon here on RaceSpotTV and iRacingLive. A very warm welcome to everyone who's joining us for the first time on the iRacing.com YouTube page. It is a pleasure to bring you coverage of this, the iRacing.com World Championship Grand Prix Series. Now, those drivers are beginning to line up on the starting grid. Be a couple of seconds before they all do so. Don't forget, ladies and gentlemen, after this race, we are going to head ourselves to Texas Motor Speedway to honour the life and remember the legacy of the one and only Justin Wilson, the gentle giant. We pay tribute to him on RaceSpotTV and iRacing Live with 2 incredible races of action on iRacing and on RaceSpot. So, drivers heading themselves down to the starting grid. We talked about all the difficulties at this racetrack with the start. It's actually a downhill start as well. When these drivers let that clutch go, it can be incredibly difficult, and I wouldn't be surprised to see some storylines coming out of the first lap of this event. So, if you're Martin Kroenke, it's simple. You've got to make sure you win this race. If you're Hutu, you've got to survive. Those lights are on. Those engines are a-revving. Round number 14 of the championship will start right now. Drivers coming down in towards turn 1. They are fanning out immediately. You can see Rocco Bruce, that's Hugo Louise, down to the inside of one car. He's passed Oli Picano already. Hugo Louise up into P number 2. That is absolutely perfect for Martin Kroenke. He has a buffer right now behind. They work themselves into the S's for the first time. You can see there Gregor Hutu is down in the pack. I believe he's been able to get himself past one of the Inex racing cars. They head themselves up the hill for the first time. This is what we like to see. All of these drivers have made it. No, we haven't got a crash at the rear of the field. We just saw their crash at the rear of the field. That is Davy de Corps, I believe, who's been involved in an incident. One driver just pushed off the racetrack, and a couple of others will have a little bit of damage, Johnny.
Yeah, certainly so. Unfortunate for Davy the Corpse. The best start off the line was from Hugo Luis. It jumped him a crucial position ahead of Olli Pakala, and that'll help Martin Kroenke throughout the race in terms of defending the lead. For Hutu, he's up 2 positions, up into 11th. Seb Job dropped 2 as well. So for Hutu, he's had a clear start, went straight up to the inside and found the clear track.
Yeah, but he's still down in P number 11, and this is the issue for Team Redliners. They traditionally run a longer gear set. Now, Hutu must definitely have thought about that. We'll be right on board then with 4-time Gregor Hutu, as we're just going to get that speed chart up, and I'm being very interested to see what the straight line speed is for Hutu. 305 is actually some good straight line speed for Hutu, hitting 306 kilometers an hour as they come down into the triangle, going to try and sling it down the inside of Holtzman. Not this time. He's going to have to wait until turn number 1, and arguably that will be the best overtaking opportunity on the racetrack. But 2 places back, there you can see Matt Backham. We know how fast Matt Backham can be in this event as well. Kroenke leads lap number 1. Hugo Luis is in 2nd place, but under some pressure right now from Olli Pakala. And we know that Pakala is particularly good in the early stages of this race, Johnny. He's very good when those tyres are cold, have yet to come up to temperature. And this now is a good chance for Pakala to try and get himself back up into P2 and help Team Redline's charge.
Oh, you're certainly right by that, and he's listening to as well. He's really pushing it tighter lines compared to Hugo, who's taking a more conservative tyre-saving approach, really. A few drivers in the pits, so Mishima as well as Alexei Siakala. I think Davy the Corpse might have had a spin, and Alexei just went straight into him there in the S's on the opening lap. But look at Pakala. Wow, so boot loop.
Yeah, we're just going to catch the rear end of that. Bootaloop has had a crash, so we talked so highly about him earlier on. Jeremy Bootaloop is well down the field right now in the Radicals and line car, dropping outside of the top 30. We're going to get ourselves a replay of that one. We want to figure out what happened to Jeremy Bootaloop. He is well down the field right now, and I think this is our first victim of Danger 2 of the day. I talked about it in the warm-up about how easy it is to be able to bin the car there. Yep, just 2 wheels on. It's so easy to do, Johnny. It won't be the first time we see it here today. Drivers on the exit of Danger 2 just putting the wheels onto that Astro curb, and from then they're taking a ride straight into the Armco barrier.
Yeah, that's really unfortunate for him. Degner 2 will claim a lot of victims today. I think Hugo, Luis and Pakala side by side into turn 1. Incredible stuff here, but Pakala will go up the inside and steal P2 away from Hugo. But can Hugo fire back? The S's are coming up. It's going to close in on the Brazilian, and there we go. So Ollie, you spoke about Will, strong in the early stages of the stint, now has Martin Kroenke in front, and it's not good for Martin that his teammate couldn't keep the red line driver behind. No,
we'll get ourselves a look, and this will be a fascinating look. And actually, Ollie had already moved past Hugo Luis. Then Hugo tried to move himself back past in towards turn number 1, wasn't able to do so. Olli Pakala back up into P number 2. Now it'll be a case of, can he catch up to the rear of Martin Kroenke? Because if not, then, well, this is pretty much Kroenke's race to throw away. And Kroenke needed to have a good win. He needed to win every single round and then hope things were to go his way. He knows last season he potentially didn't push at certain points hard enough. He knows he is against the 8 ball right now. He has to win here today. Otherwise, his championship dream is pretty much over once again. Let's check in then down in your field, and we can see actually this is going to be a fascinating battle from here on in. Matt Backham in P number 11. Gregor Hutu ahead of him on the racetrack. We know that Backham's got some straight line speed normally. I think it'll be fascinating to see what will happen over the course of this run, especially if Hutu does get held up in traffic a bit. He's actually right up behind the rear now of the driver of Patrick Holtzman. Going to ride ourselves along board then with Gregor Hutu on the exit of the final corner. He was 3 times behind heading himself into the triangle, but actually lost time coming out of it. He hasn't got that straight line speed advantage over the Movano car there, Johnny.
Yeah, that's quite interesting as well. So the Movano car in front of Holtzman, trying to get past Andre Bocha. I know Backham made his way past Yoni Tamala, so Matt Backham also making his way through the field, and I wouldn't be surprised if he gets right up close to Hutu right now. If he can make a pass on the 4-time world champion, as I said, I won't be surprised. There's only half a second, so he's getting half a second since the triangle, the casino triangle. Incredible stuff there. And you can see the amount of time that Gregor is losing right now in the traffic behind Andre Bocha. So absolutely incredible and absolutely spectacular, this train in the early stages of the race.
Let's go back, look at your battle for the race lead. It's 2.7 seconds between Martin Kroenke and Olli Pakala. Now, last time by, it was a 132.765 for Martin Kroenke, a 133.226 for Olli Pakala. Now, we expect the fact that Kroenke would pull away. It's interesting to note that Pakala has pulled out a 1 second advantage already over the driver of Hugo Louise, who actually has his teammate Rocco Baroni with him for comfort as well. So, we've seen that Hugo Louise has struggled in race pace over the course of the last year. I wouldn't be surprised to maybe see Hugo Louise allow Baroni to go past and try and catch up Pakala himself, if indeed Baroni has got the speed and Hugo Louise hasn't.
Yeah, that's all going to really depend on strategies as well as Backham. Yeah, just about to mention, Mac Backham's past Hutu, but can Hutu fire back into turn 1? He's a bit too far behind. And wow, we'll have a look at that as well later, Will. But for Barone and Luis, we'll speak about that later as well. So much action going on.
Yeah, we're going to have a look then on board with Matt Backham. And this is the run then down in towards a 130 yard. This is where we expect people to make passes, either here in towards turn 1. Backham with the overspeed just literally slams that car down to the inside. Now, if you're at that point, if you're Gregor Hutu, you've got to give him the position, because Hutu cannot be taken out of this event. But from Backham, that was a perfectly executed pass. You waited until you could get to the gap, down to the inside, worked it magically. Matt Backham up into the top 10, Hutu down into P number 11, and that was a close one, but Backham is able to win that one out as Borcher battling it out with Patrick Holtzman. This is the battle for P number 8 and 9 on track, Ronnie.
Yeah, into Spoon, he's not going to throw it up the inside gladly. It's not really the best passing spot. We've seen drivers in both the real world and in the sim world really perform maneuvers there. But for Hutu, the critical point watching that was at the hairpin, or you can call it Kobayashi corner for those who are a bit on the edge. And that was where he lost the car, and he lost the slipstream, most importantly, of Holtzman in front of him. And what that meant for Hutu was, as we see drivers in front, that's Sebastian Job looking up with Moga Ophelio, as well as though that's Bocha going off the racetrack, and Holtzman straight around the outside and takes that position. Will Backham also collect P9?
Yep, so let's have a look. Backham is right there. He is looking. He's going to go dance to the dummy. And almost a block there, I have to say, for the driver of Andre Borcher. Around the outside, he looks over Holtzman. Not sure. It technically wasn't a block, as I have a look back in my head there, Johnny, because, of course, Borcher was trying to look back to the outside, using an overspeed there with Patrick Holtzman. Backham really had nowhere to go. But Backham, he is really a feisty one, so I wouldn't expect to speed too long before he is right back up there with Andre Borcher. In fact, he's not going to look down to the inside into Danger number 1. That would be a crazy thing to do. Borcher just snatching a break, under braking that time by, as these drivers are racy down in your mid-pack. I haven't seen these drivers being this racy in quite a while, as actually Backham then having to go wide to avoid running into the rear of Borcher on the run through the hairpin. Go back up your field. There you can see two drivers of Mitchell de Jong and Rocco Barone. So we're talking about Barone.
Sorry, Will. Big crash at the hairpin. There are a few cars involved. Sorry to cut you off there, but an incredible pile-up as well. We've seen down around P18, P20, and I'm not sure what just happened, but
let's get ourselves another look. This is Marcus Hamilton involved with it. So Hamilton, he's a Pro Series driver racing up in the World Championship. Now this does have consequence. If you're involved in an incident when you're racing up, you get more of what we call penalty points. So that's not a good thing for Marcus Hamilton. Going to turn our camera around to see what happens. Down into the hairpin. We'll see the driver at full. Oh, he just lost it by himself. A Friction Racing car, an Apex Racing car, and an Inex Racing car, all basically having to, being involved in that one, running wide at the hairpin. But Hamilton, he did lose that by himself. That was a driver error, and that was not what I like to call an avoidable contact situation, because basically Friction Racing car had nowhere to go, Johnny, and unfortunately for Hamilton, his car just back end slid out into the hairpin. We'll get ourselves another look.
Yeah, so, I mean, not the best place to spin the car as well, because there's so many drivers coming in with traffic. We saw drivers going off the track and to the inside as well, avoiding the contact, but that could have been a real hairy situation for a few of those who managed to avoid it and kept their reactions high. The most important part now, I think, for anybody in this race is two things. Kroenke's braking away from Olli Pakala. He's 3.3 seconds away in the lead. But for Hutu, he's under pressure from all these mid-pack guys. We've seen him, start on pole position. We haven't seen him race on track too often in the past few races because he's been so dominant. Maybe he could be losing a bit of that racecraft, or he could be a little bit higher fuel than these guys, because at the moment he's being swamped by those guys. You know, Backham, Bolcher, Tomala behind is even trying to have a look at in maybe the inside here at the final corner.
Yeah, and to give you an update, Backham has moved himself past Andre Bolcher and pulled out a 1 second advantage within the space of a lap. Now, we'll talk strategy in a moment, because I think that's going to be the important thing, the one-stopper versus the two-stopper. If you are able to do a two-stopper, you are generally faster, and that is what we expect Martin Kroenke to be on, with a 3.3 second advantage right now over Olli Pakala. Having a look down in the pack just a little bit there, and you can see that you've got yourself a little bit of separation now forming inside your top 10. You can see on the left-hand side of your screen, there are the times as they stand. Is your top 20 separated by 22 seconds on track. But I am intrigued by the likes of Sebastian Joe, by the likes of Matt Backham, and also by Gregor Hutu to see what they can do. Now, if everyone in your top 10 is two-stopping, Johnny, that is going to make it a very long day for the four-time champion, because he's going to have much heavier fuel at this stage of the race. But then he'll be faster later, but then when he puts his fresh set of boots on, he will again be slower, and he'll have to hope on drivers in being able to win out on strategy. It doesn't seem to be that he's got the ability to pass drivers with his Team Redline number 1 car, especially its top speed. In a straight line, that car does not look fast. Jonas Tomala is putting the pressure on him right now.
Yeah, he certainly is. In strategy, there isn't much room to move around in terms of fuel. You know, you're either one-stopping, two-stopping. You have to take traffic as well, which is into involvement, as Hugo Luis, I think, has just been passed by his teammate Mitchell de Jong, who moves up into 3rd. So de Jong also passed Barone a couple of laps ago. So de Jong now into P3. But you know what has a world of existentialism, a world of freedom, is the setup on this car. And a few drivers so far impressing down the order who have not really around the end of the top 10. You know, I've seen Tommaso Carlos made his return. He's having a good race as well. So, but especially for Morgan Filho, we spoke about Will. Rocco Bruin also impressing. These guys have really put their mind to it and really nailed it where it counts today.
There's a look at Alexei Usiakola. He started this race down at the rear of your field. He's not actually picked up many positions. He's only up 3 spots in the number 4 Team Redline car. I'm just going to have a look to see whether there is any damage to that race car. I can't actually see any, Johnny. The car is a little bit loose down the XL spoon curve, but this is a disappointing day then for all of Team Redline, with the exception of Olli Pakala. Update on retirees as well, where you got Marcus Hamilton on pit road at the moment. We saw, of course, Marcus Hamilton involved in that spin. We've got Jeremy Boosley. We saw him crash down at the exit of the Daniel number 2. Pablo Lopez also out of the race. We're not quite sure why, but Pablo Holix, we are sorry, he's down in P34 and out of the event.
Yeah, I think the news we just heard now on Pablo Lopez is that he was involved in that incident between De Corps and Alexei Usiakola. So definitely with Alexei, he's got lots of damage. There's Emil Henriksen as well. Also news we received, he just spun on the exit of Degner 2. And I'm not sure if he hit the wall. It was very, very close, but he's dropped a few positions from that as well. 44 laps remaining. Hopefully this race doesn't become a race of attrition. Hopefully, most certainly not.
Well, we're getting ourselves another look. This is Emil Henriksen. This is the exit of the S's into Dunlop Curb. Up the hill he works himself. So, literally, at Darlington, you have the stripe counter. You know, they say that if you're going to be fast at Darlington, you need to earn your stripes. Emil Henriksen will have a look then. This is going to be back end sliding out. That was, he just nabbed the barrier there. But overall, that was an impressive save. That car fishtailed twice, Johnny. Could have been disastrous, especially as he was in a pack of drivers. That could have been another 4-car incident.
Yeah, he did. It wasn't the most ideal line through Degner 2, so an incredible save to recover from that. I don't think that damage is going to be too detrimental though, but we'll have to wait and see. Is he going to maybe enter the pit lane? No, he doesn't, so he continues on. I think he's just had a spin and lost a bit of time, not much, as Matt Backham now right onto the back of Holtzman into Spoon. Incredible stuff.
Yep, so let's go back then and have a look at Matt Backham. He has moved himself past Patrick Holtzman. He's moved himself now up into P number 8 on track. So, Matt Backham is one of your star performers. Look at that. 7 positions up so far in this event. Yes, Johnny.
Oh, Job and Luis side by side through 130 yard. This is, most incredible racing we've seen all season long. And look at this, Luis can really fight back towards Sebastian, who takes the inside line, covers the wall and covers the slipstream, and I think he might have broken away from Hugo there. So Sebastian now into P5. So Hugo, after letting his teammates through, maybe could be on a bit of a higher fuel load because he is dropping down the order quite rapidly.
Good recovery also for Sebastian Job after a not ideal start to this event in that Apex Racing car. In fact, you can see there, Sebastian Job up 2 places from where he started. Now, he didn't lose. Oh, back end of that car, just sliding him there on the exit of the S's. That's going to allow Louise to catch back up on the run through Dunlop into Daniel number 1. And I talked about, if you mess up one of the S's, you mess up the entire sequence. You lose yourself at least half a second. But this is like number 11 of 53 now. So Job, it's going to be a good start. But was that Hugo Louise trying to sling it down the outside into the hairpin there?
Oh, anything is possible at this racetrack. And talking about that, I thought Hugo was about to lose it, but he's too good to do that. And yeah, wow, Mac Backham now on the back of Mogarfilio. So Mac Backham into Spoon, 2 out of 2 laps in a row.
Oh, wow.
And he does it. Incredible stuff off the racetrack though, keeps it together, and he makes his way up into P7. What a race from Mac Backham, and for a guy that really needs to get into the top 25, there's no doubt about it. He might even do that from this race onwards.
Yeah, I was going to say, you have 2 ideologies there. Because, of course, Mogarfilo is a World Championship driver. He's pretty safe in the top 25. Of course, he is running for prizes. And yes, points do mean prizes here in the World Championship Series. But Matt Backham, he wants to get himself automatic qualification for the 2016 World Championship Series. He does not want to run in the Pro Series of road racing if he doesn't have to. And to do that, he must make the top 25 in points. And well, at the end of this race, he will likely be there. And he's still moving forward as well. Hugo Louise just 0.5 seconds up the road. To give you an update on Hutu, P11. And I think that's my story of the day so far. Matt Backham has been able to overtake a lot of drivers. We don't know the fuel loads, Johnny, but Gregor Hutu has it. He's only been able to move up positions here today because of attrition. Jeremy Boothroyd, for example. He's not actually really overtaking anyone in this race. And that is a striking point to make.
Yeah, it certainly is. Oh, is there a spinner at the hairpin as well in front? Is that Sebastian Job? Oh, we talked about his progress, and he's butchered it in the exit of the hairpin there, and he's going down all the way to P8, maybe even P9. But for Backham now, he's really been impressing. He won't make it 3 laps in a row at Spoon. He might, though, get past Hugo Louise in that Coanda Simsport car soon enough here. 42 laps remaining, and look at that, tucking into the slipstream as soon as possible. I spoke about it before, quite a few laps ago, as Backham really approaches Louise now. I'll let you call this, and wow, incredible stuff, so close.
Just having a look at the replay. Oh my god, we've got an issue with Matt Backham. We're going to go back to this one in just 1 second. This was the issue for Sebastian Job first, but we'll go back. This is on tape, so we won't have any issue, but Hugo Louise is going to be out of the race. Matt Backham has been involved in an incident. We're going to show this one for you in real time. We're just showing an incident there with Sebastian Job as he lost it on the exit of the hairpin. But this is huge, just between Matt Backham and Hugo Louise, and unwittingly, this could actually help Hutu's World Championship charge, because this is 2 more drivers moved to attrition. Both of them are confirmed as out of the race. But coming down into the 130R then, Matt Backham looked down to the inside, and that was Backham's fault in my opinion. He tried to make that move before, and that was Backham just trying to take a little bit too much of the racetrack. Hugo Louise is out. Matt Backham is out. We're going to need another look at this one. I think the best place to have a look for it is on board with Hugo Louise. I think that one is on Backham from that first angle, Johnny. And we'll just try and have a look. We'll slow it down into the 130R. And I want to talk about spacing here. Exit, you see right about here, we're going to slow it down. There is not much space on the right-hand side of that racetrack. Backham looking down to the inside. Backham, in my opinion, came across on Hutu there. There is about another half a car length that Backham could have gone on the right-hand side of the racetrack after what had been a superb drive. Matt Backham, Hugo Louise, out of the event.
Wow, and yeah, all you need to do is leave a car's width between you and the grass, and that's exactly what Hugo did. Left more than that, and you can see from the angle, did not change his line, kept the car in a straight line, and it was Backham that expected Hugo to go back onto the racing line. But I know that this is a move that a lot of drivers will use, is to force guys to to not change their line at the last moment, and you know, it's just really poor to see. I mean, it was a great race from both those guys. You know, Hugo possibly on a heavier fuel load, just making his way, you know, down the order, avoiding contact, and for Mac Backham, all those passing maneuvers, well, it's bittersweet for him. You know, a positive start to the race, but one little mistake we see there, and his race and Hugo's are both over.
Yeah, and it's interesting to know that Matt Backham's a high-risk driver. He always has been a high-risk driver. And there are some people, of course, already coming up with the comments. Now, oh, Jonas Nakurian there, he spun his car, so it's a double whammy here for Radicals Online. As Nakurian, now, he's just lost that. That's on the run down. I'm just trying to figure out where this is, actually.
Dunlop
this is,
curve.
yeah, this is on Dunlop. And he's the first driver we've seen lose at a Dunlop today. But Jonas Nakurian now outside of your top 20. As a consequence, replay of that one coming up for you. But for Matt Backham, he is a driver who's always been high risk. And most of those moves, I have to say, were perfectly clean, perfectly acceptable. I think that time he just tried to took a bit more than he could chew there with Hugo Luis. And you don't need to do so if your car is that fast. Because all race long, Backham's had one of the fastest cars on the racetrack. He didn't need to make that move then. He could have just waited for pit stops. Or he could have just waited till turn number 1. Could have waited until Spoon Curve if he wanted to do it again. Because he's done that one, of course, before in this race.
Yeah, shoulda, coulda, woulda, those is a different question. I mean, all he had to do was really not turn back in on the racetrack. So many drivers, it's a move that I use, that Hugo did right there, is you don't change your line. You force the guy making the passing maneuver to take a tight line into the corner. And what you do is, as soon as you get into the braking zone, you start braking back onto the racing line, and it catches the other driver unaware. So that's what Hugo was trying to perform, and Mac Backham really thought that he was going to give him more space, but that was not the case. So for Mac, he'll obviously view that incident, learn from it, move on, and he's going to be a strong driver for the future as long as he doesn't get into more hairy situations such as that. But for now, the most important thing is the first time Hutu's been into the really inside the top 10 in P8 right now. So the highest he's been all race, and it's only P8.
Yeah, just have a look. And lap number 15 of 53. Pit window will open in about 3 laps time for those on a 2-stop strategy. Those on a 1-stop strategy, they'll come in around lap number 26 through 28. It is a small pit window here compared to normal because the racetrack is so long, Johnny. It's a little bit like at Spa. We see most drivers coming in within a space of 1 to 2 laps on both a 1-stop and a 2-stop strategy because of just how long this racetrack is.
Yeah, and you know, that's the case. You have to even think about if Hutu right now is maybe 1-stopping, which would be incredible. He will get a great result out of this race. We'll see drivers catch him in the second stint, quite obviously, but you know, he's really got out of trouble. No damage to that red line car as well. P8, having a really quiet race. So he's been taking it easy. So what that says to me is, just in terms of driving style, is that he's not really pushing. He's just trying to coast home, grab some good points for himself, and if that's all he needs to win the championship, I guess that's all he needs to win the championship.
Yeah, sometimes it's not always the pretty way that you win championships. It's by just fighting for every single point. Just show you there some of the damage to Alexei Yusiakola's car. He is classified as out of the race for the time being. You can see him out of the car. He is done for the day as it stands. So your top 8 as it is: Martin Kroenke leads by 4.3 seconds over Oli Pacala. Mitchell de Jong is in 3rd place. Rocco Baroni in 4th. Sebastian Job in 5th. Patrick Holtzman in 6th. Andre Borcher and Greg Hutu round out your top 8. I'm having a look team-wise, and you've got 3 Commander drivers inside of your top 4. 1 team Redline driver. Then you've got yourself an Apex Racing UK car rounding out your top 5. So it's an interesting dynamic here. Commander do seem to have the upper hand. I'll be very intrigued to see, Johnny, if they split their strategies up. Because if they haven't, they're going to leave themselves very vulnerable to any one-stop of attack. And that could be Hutu's chance to potentially get a podium here today.
Yeah, so Coanda really need to think in terms of the team game right now, because those drivers, you know, yes, money's involved and all that, but really the unselfish people and unselfish drivers think about the team first, and that's Martin Kroenke right now. He's not the full team, but he's the guy who has the best chance of winning the championship out of anyone from Coanda Simsport this season. So for him, they need to defend any attack from Pacala. We saw at Okayama, you know, Kroenke had a nice lead of around 6, 7, 8 seconds, and right now it's 4.5 between him and Ollie. So this is in the final stages of the race. We're going to see another Okayama situation, and that's not what Coanda wants. They need to get ahead of Ollie, and they need to make sure they defend any attack from Hutu, and in terms of strategy attack, that is, because he's not going to be fast on the racetrack with a one-stop. So, you know, it's key for them to really think about the team game, as I said.
Let's give a shout out to the hometown hero, one Japanese driver in the field today. That is Kazuki Omishima in the number 20 Radicals Online car, heading himself then down into Dega 2. It's been an up and down day, as you can see now, for the Radicals Online team. Boostloop out of the race. You've got Backham out of the race. You've got Omishima on the rear end of the top 20. You saw the spin also for Yunus Nakurian earlier on. But Mogarfilo still running high inside of your top 10 for the time being. Gregor Hutu trying to get close there to Andre Borcher. He's not really been able to close up at all. Going to ride on board then with the four-time champion. This is Gregor Hutu. Talk about the difficulties here, Johnny, with the dirty air when you're running this type of racetrack, when you've got a car that close ahead of you, and it doesn't look as though that you've got the straight line speed to draft past someone.
The most important corner to adjust to is this one, turn 1. You have dirty air in front of you, you need to take less speed into the corner, because you make a mistake and you're going to go flying off the racetrack at light speed. You might even break a hole in the space-time continuum, because that's how fast you're going. So for Hutu right now, the yeses is a killer as well. Dunlop is really a balancer, because if you have an oversteery car and you have dirty air in front, you just have to make sure you don't touch the gravel to the outside. Other than that, with dirty air, you're not really going to lose the rear end too much. So for right now, Degna 2 as well, fairly straightforward. I think the killer corners are those fast sweeping and those medium speed corners. The hairpin isn't that big of a deal, so those corners coming up such a spoon in a few moments time are the killers when you're behind another driver.
Yep, Gregor Hutu, 2014 World Champion. He's also a 2010, 12 and 13 World Champion, looking to make it his 5th championship out of 6, and well, he's already amassed over 50 wins in World Championship history. He wants to go even faster. We've got a couple of people. Oh, we've got a spin there. Benjamin Lindsay. This is another victim. So let's make that Denga 2 counter up to 3 drivers now. TNT Racing's Benjamin Lindsay losing it, we think, again, all by himself, Johnny, in towards Denga number 2. Well, we said that there'd be a couple, and indeed there has already been 3 of them. I think that could get up to 5 before the end of the race, especially once we head ourselves into pit stops in the next couple of laps. But for Benjamin Lindsay, another victim of that dreaded Denga 2 exit curb. And actually, let's just get that graphic off. We'll just no, he didn't even touch the curb. He looped it before he actually even touched the white line, which is interesting.
Yeah, that's, I don't know what that was. But he's lost the car, and that's not good for him as well. And another guy's lost the car as well. I'm just watching Alex Simpson at the hairpin. He lost it not once, but twice. So there's a counter 2 times for one driver. Almost lost the car. Really 2 saves, but it cost him an incredible amount of time. So for Simpson, who was looking at a top 10 result, or a top 10 position at least, has dropped down to 15th. So there we go, Will. I talk about concentration and not making those small critical mistakes. One small mistake and you're going to fall down the order like flies.
Yeah, we've got Yunus Nakurian onto pit road. 9.3 second stop. He is out and away. Benjamin Lindsay doing a stop in the TNT racing car. Out and away in 8.8 seconds. Paul Ilbrink has also made a stop in 8.7 seconds. Let's turn our attention back then to Martin Kroenke as he heads himself out the final corner down towards the start-finish line. He has led every single lap here today. He now has a 3.7 second advantage over Ollie Bacala in the Team Redline car. There you can see then, we just turn our attention back. There is Pakala, and there is Mitchell Dillon. Just coming to view right now is Rocco Baroni. He's in P4, and I think I just saw Sebastian Jobe on towards pit road. Indeed he is. So Sebastian Jobe is on to pit road. He's going to make himself that stop. We can turn our camera over to him. Got a couple of others on pit road as well. Mogarfilo, Martin Piatella, Antoine Hegelen, Alex Simpson, all coming onto pit road. They are all on clear 2-stop strategies, Johnny.
Yeah, certainly so. So we see Umeshima also in as well. So Kazuki Umeshima making another pit stop for his day. For Sebastian Jobe, look at his time, was at around 8 seconds. So a quick pit stop for him, 2-stop, and he is out and away, hopefully into clean air, which is so critical around Suzuka. Yeah,
just showing a couple of the other times there. Mogarfilo out in 9 seconds. Alex Simpson, Antoine Hegelen coming out pretty much nose to tail. You got Omeshima, the hometown kid, onto pit road as well. He'll be out of the way in just under 10 seconds. From Megleg, you can see he's just coming back onto track. You see a lot more wheel spin. We'll talk about that in a moment as well. 8.4 seconds effort on Mishima, 10.2 seconds for the TNT racing car of Thomas Megleg. We still await a driver inside of your top 10, with the exception of the car of Sebastian Jobs coming towards pit road. I'll be very intrigued to see if Cronke's going to make... No, he's not. Martin Cronke coming on towards pit road this time by slowing that car down. This is actually one of the slowest pit roads we have all season long. So, Johnny, it's 37 miles an hour. It is downhill, and that makes coming out of pit road a bit complicated, especially the wheel spin that we were talking about earlier.
Yeah, so you're going to have to practice that quite obviously, as Pakala also enters the pit lane for Team Redline. So Mitchell de Jong takes the lead of the race. For Cronke is one of the closest pit boxes to the exit. Pakala right behind him, you can see nose to tail. And for Martin Cronke, it should be a quick pit stop, two-stop strategy for him. And as he wheel spin, no, he's fairly clean out of the exit, so good stuff from him. Let's see how much time Pakala's gained.
Yeah, Ali Pakala does a 9-second stop. It's an 8-second stop there for Martin Cronke, but Cronke did look slow out of his pit box. I'm not sure if he had trouble getting off. I'm just trying to look, but that gap's actually gone up by 1 second, so that's exactly what we'd have expected it to be. There is Martin Cronke, and there you can see, we'll just cycle it through. There is Ollie Pakala in the Team Redline car. Mitchell de Jong leads the way. We have de Jong first, Holtzman second, Borgia and Hutu in third and fourth, then Kana rounding at your top 5. None of these drivers have yet pitted. So there's a look then. We turn our attention over to the American Red Bull Rallycross driver. That is Mitchell de Jong. And it's interesting to note that there is another driver who runs in Formula 1 who's potentially going to try and make a run for Pro at some point as well. 17-year-old Max Verstappen. And this is the interesting thing. Max Verstappen, like every other driver, has to work himself up the license system, Johnny. He cannot just say, "Hi guys, I'm a real F1 driver, let me come and play." He has to abide by the same rules, and this is why the World Championship Grand Prix Series earns the respect of drivers and fans around the world.
Yeah, it certainly does, as Holtzman enters the pit lane. I was about to say it was a bit of deja vu with de Jong and Holtzman first and second from the Pro Series, but for Verstappen, yeah, that's just the rules, and you know, first come, first serve, none of that BS or whatever. You have to earn your way through the system. As talented as he is, it'd be nice to see him though. It'll be great for iRacing, great for the sim racing world and the sim racing sport, whatever you want to call it. I think as Holtzman will exit his pit box, I think that's Tomala and Hapala as well also entering their pit boxes. You know, it's good to see the future of sim racing is in good hands.
Yeah, I completely agree with that one. There's some fantastic articles that's come out of Team Redline as well about how the likes of Verstappen has actually used iRacing as a trading tool to improve himself. As Dion Vergers is on pit road at the moment. We can see him coming out of pit road on the Ryan Race Team car. 8.5 second start as he circulates back out onto the track. But yeah, head over to Team Redline's website, that's teamredline.co.uk. You can actually see some very interesting articles about the way that Verstappen uses sim racing as a training tool. A couple of bits also being posted onto the iRacing news website, which of course you can catch the full recap of this race and the one and only Will Vincent, whoever that guy is. That will be out in the next couple of days. De Jong still leads, Borcha still second, Hutu is still 1 second behind Borcha. That gap has actually increased by a couple of attempts. Oh, but Hutu now, this is going to be the fun part of the race. Borcha on towards pit road, that is going to release Gregor Hutu. Now we'll see whether Mr. Full-Time has any pace here today.
I really think Hutu is going to finish quite high up in this race. If he's going to one stop compared to everybody else, I don't know what de Jong's strategies will be. I have a feeling maybe Mitchell de Jong might be on the one stop. I wish we could, you know, have live fuel, you know, calculations, everything like that on screen, but we can't. It's obviously too secretive. Teams would never release that as well, and of course their strategies. But Hutu will pedal away and mash that throttle down to gain as much time as he can. Really, the first time in this race, Will, we've seen Gregor in clean air. This is so important for him.
Captain himself, Mitchell de Jong, is 12.9 seconds. I did say, if you're Commander, you would be stupid not to have at least one of your drivers on a one-stop strategy. We're working ourselves on 23 out of 53 right now. So we are getting closer to that one-stop window. And if it will finish like this, then of course, now you've got De Jong with a 12.8 second buffer over Gregor Houtu. This is Mitchell De Jong, a race winner in this series. The driver who won every single one, bar one, of last season's Pro Series, including beating out the likes of Atty Kirchhoff. And he actually comes onto pit road, 23 of 53 laps scored complete. The pit time here will be critical. Anything less than 10 seconds, this is a two-stop race for De Jong. Anything more than 10 seconds, make it a one-stopper for him. So this is arguably the most important part of this event. Here we are then, Mitchell De Jong onto pit road, into his pit box. Let's see what the pit stop time will be for him. Critical time. By the way, Gregor Houtu just does a 132.315, 7.6. That's a two-stopper there for De Jong. Just having a look, Mitchell De Jong has done the fastest lap of this race, but that last lap from Gregor Houtu, only 1/10 of a second slower than the fastest lap of this race so far. So De Jong is on a two-stop strategy. He's back behind Martin Kroenke, but Gregor Houtu might still have a J-Crop his card sleeve. That's what I mean.
Yeah, so I'm really confused right now. I even think there could be a bit of a rumor mill whether Houtu might be two-stopping, maybe running a long first stint, but I doubt that. You know, you're really coming towards the end of that first stopping window, so for Mitchell De Jong, as we know, most certainly a two-stop. That pit stop time was probably less than half a second, as he will approach the hairpin right now. He's currently in third position, 14 seconds behind his teammate. And most importantly, though, they really need to get behind Olli Pakala. I think something has happened to a few drivers. Maybe Tommaso Carlos complaining about a bit of issues there as well. So I think, yeah, he's had a big moment. I think that's with Marty Piatella at the hairpin. Yeah, wow, incredible aero loose, Will. And he is out of this race.
We'll try and get an update on that one as quickly as we can. Tommaso Carlos there, is out. Houtu will do another lap. Now we're being asked, is this just a simple undercut strategy? No, it's not. An undercut strategy would mean that you're on the same kind of strategy as your competitors. So everyone's on a two-stop strategy. You do more laps, yes, to put more fuel into your car. You slow at the start, but up to 2-3 tenths of a second a lap. But then afterwards, you end up with the ability to either have a shorter stop or go longer. So basically, you're doing your fastest laps, and you can do the undercut that way. When you do it on a one-stop strategy, that isn't an undercut. And the one-stopper on paper is slower here today. It's supposed to work the tyres more, etc. Be interesting to see what will happen with that one. Just going to check in with Antoine Hegelin versus Ilka Happala. This is Apex Racing versus Orion Race Team. Two teams that have really had some interesting battles this season. And Johnny, as we start to get into the back end of this campaign, we start to think about teams who have had some good battles. Orion, Apex, also the Radicals team. You put them into a big box, maybe with Inex as well. They've had some great, sterling battles this season.
Yeah, they certainly had us, and going into the off-season, you always want to search for improvements, you know, one by one, changing maybe your approach to races, how you practice and how you plan things, maybe adding a couple drivers, some smart races. I know in the Pro Series there are a few guys who have got their pro license who will be exciting to watch, as well as drivers who are not the fastest on the racetrack, but so smart in the way they, you know, approach sim racing off the racetrack. So that's something you always look to improve on as a team and in whole. You know, team managers always trying to see if any improvements will help both on and off the racetrack. So as a Gregor Houtu enters the pit lane for his first stop, and Friskops as well from, I think, 25th on the grid, 24th to 5th. He's also on a one-stop.
Yep, so let's have a look then. Gregor Houtu into his pit box. Let's have a look at the time. This is almost half race distance. Revving that 7.5. That's a short stop there for Gregor Houtu. Very interested to see that one. 7.5 seconds out and away he goes. Revving that engine up, back down into turn 1 now. He comes out behind Rocco Baroni. This one's interesting. He's ahead of Sebastian Job and Andre Borcha, but he is behind Rocco Baroni, so he's behind another Commander car. He cannot catch a break today with Commander cars there. Can Gregor Houtu? I think this is going to be a bit like Schumacher in 1998 at Hungary. He's just going to basically do 2 qualifying runs now. We've seen this before from the Finn. I think we'll see it again.
Yeah, there was also that race at Magny-Cours, I think, where Schumacher did a 10-stop strategy, whatever he did, ended up winning. So for Houtu now, he's in a push. Look, already you can tell he's faster than Rocco Barone. So Barone is He's certainly going to be scared, or if he's not scared, I'm scared for him, because Hutu is on a charge now towards maybe a great result in this race. And from P13 on the grid, this will be impressive, as we're still waiting for Robin Friskops to enter the pit lane, who's 20 positions up as Hutu almost loses it, and that will leave him vulnerable to Sebastian Joe behind.
Yeah, and we've seen Joe versus Hutu before. This is going to be interesting, and of course, we want to make sure that all of these drivers can get through this one cleanly if they can. Job, quarter of a second back, unable to capitalise. Job actually hasn't got the straight line speed either. Slamming it down the brakes. They work themselves through the triangle, unwinding the cars. You work yourself down the hill then. All drivers have completed one stop already. Barone's going defensively as they head themselves down in towards turn 1 again. Sebastian Job cannot close up on Gregor Hutu at all. We're still waiting for Robin Friskops coming towards pit road. There you can see Oli Picana in P number 3. Gap between himself and the race lead, 5.8 seconds. De Jong is actually caught up to the rear of Martin Kroenke. There will not be a situation I can think of where De Jong is going to try and pass Kroenke for the win. This isn't 1982 San Marino. We're not talking about Villeneuve and Didier Pironi here.
No, it's not going to happen. You know, De Jong will be there just to really defend Pakala. I think crucially though, actually scrap that, I was about to say something completely ridiculous, but De Jong just needs to get close to Kroenke, not put pressure on him. Maybe around 2 seconds the gap is enough, but I think maybe he needs that buffer in case something goes wrong for Martin. You never know. So Mitchell will need to grab as many seconds or tenths as he can on Oli Pakala behind. I think the most important part is these two Coanda drivers in first and second, they're breaking away from red lines, Oli Pakala. So it's basically a race on their own so far. With they could be a bit shorter fueled for this second stint. We'll see what goes on with the third stint. So many factors that play into a race here in WCS. It makes things oh so interesting.
Robin Friskops is finally on pit road in that number 19 Inex racing car. So you can just see your biggest movers and shakers up on the left hand side of your screen. Robin Friskops means that all drivers have now completed one stop in today's event. I think it'll be interesting, as Friskops will be the only pure one stopper, see where he ends up in this field. But there you can see Martin Kroenke heading himself now through the Dunlop curve once again. Last time by he does a 133.1 and Gregor Hutu a 132.7. So they are your times. Marty Piatella on pit road for Coanda Sim Sports as well. Here you are, out and away in 9.4 seconds. Robin Friskops' time was 11.7 seconds. So he actually took 4.7 seconds more fuel compared to Gregor Hutu, who came in just 2 laps previously. Ladies and gentlemen, you're watching coverage of the iRacing.com World Championship Grand Prix Series. This is a special presentation of RaceSpotTV on iRacingLive, as we are going to very briefly take you RaceSpotTV side by side. We'll be right back. You never miss a moment with RaceSpotTV side by side, and well, you saw a very interesting one there, Johnny, as Rocco Barone and, well, that was Sebastian Job, had themselves a little bit of an issue. This was down in towards turn 1. We're going to replay it from you from the 130R. So this is actually the very start As you can see, Job was trying to get himself past. We were just actually talking about the fact that Hutu had got himself past Rocco Barone. Barone running wide there, down into the triangle. And we're going to try and get ourselves a nice little look of this. But it was down in turn number 1, the actual incident happened. Talk us through it.
Yeah, I mean, you know, Sebastian and going around the outside there of Rocco, and he needed to leave a bit more space. You know, Rocco did slightly understeer, but it's not his fault. It's too tight of a line with the speed you're carrying into that corner. So for Sebastian, some people argue it's maybe a racing incident, but we've seen that before. And I think if anyone is to blame for that, it will be Seb. But anyway, his race continues unharmed for Rocco. Slightly unharmed. He's lost probably around 8 seconds he's lost from that. So actually that's really detrimental. Lost 3 positions, down into 8th. So it's a difficult situation with 24 laps remaining now for Rocco. All he needs to do is to make up those positions back in that time, because he doesn't want his race to finish on a low.
No, we're going to get ourselves another look then. This one is on board with Rocco Barone. You can just see then coming to his outside, the left-hand side of your screen right about now will be the driver of Sebastian Job in towards turn 1. They're going to come side by side, and you'll just hear the impact right about there. There's the impact there. There's Rocco Barone spinning that car around. Luckily, it was a side-on impact. So it was the side of the car to that left rear tyre. So that means it's not going to be any suspension damage really done to Rocco Barone. But a tight, close call there, which unfortunately loses a bit of time for Barone. Did a 140.5, so about 7 to 8 seconds lost, as Shani just alluded to. Martin Kroenke is being caught by Mitchell de Jong. 1.2 seconds is now the gap as they work themselves up through the S's once again. Well, Kroenke's not having it on his own way. He does need to win the event here. And I'm just thinking as well, if this race was to finish as is, if Hutu was to finish in P4 for the next 2 races, it will be that close to the championship. If Hutu gets into the podium, then it's going to be a case of even if Kroenke wins the next 2 rounds, Hutu will still be the champion. So if you're Ollie Pakala, you might consider helping a brother out here. Even though Gregor Hutu's 9.7 seconds down the road, you might see Ollie Pakala just helping his teammate up. If Hutu catches up to him, he won't just stop at the side of the racetrack. Yeah,
it depends. You know, if I was running the team, I don't really care about politics. I'd want Pakala, if it's on the final lap, maybe the final turn, to move over for Gregor. I think the most important thing is you never move over with 10 laps to go, because if those 2 in first and second have any technical issues and you know, cost yourself a position or any sort, you know, you never know what happens. So in the end, I think Hutu really needs the points. You got to think championship. But what's really critical in this stage is that Pakala is still in 3rd position. Hugo has failed to finish. De Jong in 5th is going to grab a, well, who knows what result he's going to grab today. He's really close to Martin right now. But Ollie's almost really settled for 3rd. So we'll quickly switch over to this. But, you know, it's an important situation we'll focus on later.
Yeah, Ilka Harpada just did a Ryan Hunter-Ray 2 wheels on the grass to get himself past Mogo Philo. That may well come down to be one of our passes of the race here today. Ilka Harpada, Orion Race Team. He is, of course, a veteran of the World Championship Grand Prix Series. There's only a couple of drivers who's been here since the very beginning. Ilka Harpada in Orion Race Team is a very long-standing veteran of this series. Having a look through your field, a couple of disappointing performances here today. I'm going to turn my attention first of all to the number 44 car of Richard Avery. Expecting a little bit more here today, to be fair, from that number 44 machine.
Who knows? Could just be maybe a lack of testing time, maybe a struggle to get your head around the circuit. You know, some days it's yours. Suzuka, as I mentioned before, if it's not your day, it's not going to go well for you. The race is not going to turn out great, and it's certainly the case for Richard Avery. In terms of Ilka Harpada, you mentioned before, people forget he's a 2-time race winner in this series, 2 race wins back in 2010. So a driver who basically in that year, who was one of the drivers to challenge Gregor Hutu's 15 monstrous race wins. Now he's not going to break that this year, but incredible stuff from the drivers.
Yeah, anyone who's been watching this series since the beginning will know that, first of all, this wasn't in a Grand Prix car, it's in a Dallara IR05. Talk more about IndyCar in a little bit. But then also, the fact that it was just simple dominance. 2011, goes down as the most competitive season in series history in terms of how close the battle was. That was the year, of course, that Hugo Louise won. And you talk to many of these drivers about that 2011 season, they go all misty-eyed and talk about the good old days. I'll tell you what, we've had some great battles already this year. And for a while, it did look as though that this could have been the most compelling season we had. Alexei Yusiakola won the first 2 rounds of the championship. Then we had De Jong winning. And we weren't going all aboard the Hutu train until, you know, we were getting ourselves into that middle part of the season. But that is how Hutu does it, better than anyone else in sim racing. He just wears you out in the middle stage of a season with win after win after win after win. Ilka Habana is back on... No, he's not. That's Yoni Tamada I just need to turn my attention to. There we are. Yoni Tamada in the number 17 machine, scrapping it out of Rocco Barone. This is for P8 and P9 on track. Barone, of course, after that incident, is now down on that 8th position. He's trying to work himself back for the field. Yoni Tamada in that INX racing car, Johnny. Well, here today, he started P9. He's running P9.
Yeah. That's all right. You always want to finish ahead of where you start. I think that's really the politically correct answer people want to say. For other drivers, Hutu started 13th up into 4th, Bocha 10th, now in 6th, Holtzman started 11th, now in 7th for him. So one of the droppers though, as we mentioned, Mogar Filio. Let's see if things turn around for him. We know some drivers have been in a few incidents as race has progressed. You know, 20 laps remaining. Anything will still happen as De Jong really closes into Kroenke for the lead here.
Yeah, he does. That gap is 0.6 of a second now. 0.6 of a second. You're in draft range, and from here, it was just a lovely look there. We just saw of the crossovers. We just get a look there. High above Suzuka, our aerial coverage here today is brought to you by And1 Design, the official graphics partner of RaceSpotTV. We got ourselves a look at the sweeping corners as you head yourself down into Spoon Curve. You just head yourself behind the trees for a moment. You just see how extensive this track is. On one hand, they do pack quite a lot into a nice small package, but at the same time, this does take up quite a wide footprint, this racetrack, compared to a couple of others, which is surprising because they felt they need to use a figure of 8.
Yeah, I was about to mention that. So they've decided to... It's designed by a Dutch man. So we know the Dutch are pretty intriguing in terms of what they like to do in the world, and that's good to see as well. I know a few Dutch guys who like to have a drink, and when I say that, I mean like 50 litres in an hour. Like the Dutch people, they drink a lot. So it's good though to see that... yeah. It's good to see though at the moment that De Jong is putting the pressure on Kroenke, because it makes things really interesting right now. The important thing though is, Will, as a driver, when you're being held up and you don't want to pass your teammate because you want him to get the points, it's a good point here for De Jong just to recharge and not waste too much energy. You never know when he might need it towards the end of the race. Maybe if he makes an early pit stop and he's stuck in traffic, he's going to have to pass a few cars. So pit stop here, you really want to be, for these two, Kroenke and De Jong, to make the pit stop at the latest possible chance, because Pakala is still 5-6 seconds behind these guys. He's not going to undercut them at all. And you can't.
No. You got the magical yellow pen out. Fastest lap of the day for Gregor Hutu, a 132.100. So Hutu has got that noisy pedal going right down to the floor here. We're past halfway distance. This is lap number 35 of 53 here from Suzuka. Bit of an update to give you as well about this season. We are not going to be going to the Nürburgring for the next round of the championship as was originally scheduled. Instead, Johnny, we will be heading ourselves back to Interlagos. Interlagos is a track which literally Coanda and Redline have gone head to head many years ago. And it's one that actually is Piatella going side by side there with Henriksen. Henriksen down to the inside. Henriksen will move himself up one position there and move himself past Marty Piatella. Piatella struggling in that number 13 Coanda Sim Sports car. But next time out, it's Interlagos. That's going to be a very interesting one, because I think drivers were thinking about where they were going to go next, thinking it's going to be the Nürburgring, a new challenge. Not going to be the case.
Yeah, that's the first time I've heard that. I thought we were going to Zandvoort. I have to cancel my flights now. Well, no, but okay, we're going back to Interlagos. That's nice. For some reason, I had Zandvoort written down for like the past 3 months, so they've obviously changed that recently. Tell you what, though, Interlagos is a very nice track, one of my favorite. And unfortunately for the Dutch people, we're just speaking about, going to have to wait till their next WCS round. But you know, going back to another track, if you're racing in the same season, it's not going to be exactly the same. We know the build and the car transitions as the year goes on, so only a few minor setup adjustments, but it should be a fairly straightforward round. Let's see if Alexei Usiakala can get back to his winning ways.
Yep. So there we are, having a look at the honest one. And don't forget, of course, it was this guy, Gregor Hutu, who won the championship last time at round 15. That was its time for. Inter Benito won that day, Johnny. It's ironic that Benito had his first win of the World Championship Grand Prix Series. We celebrated it for about 10 seconds.
Yeah, that's not good. His first and only win of his career. He joins a few other guys with one win, and there's quite a few of them. De Jong as well, who won his first race this season. A couple of others, Barazini, you know, in that infamous race as well a couple of years ago. So I think, though, for at the moment, looking at gaps, if we concentrate back on where Hutu's going, he's gaining time on Pakala. And whether he needs it or not, I think at the moment we're probably looking at a podium here for Gregor Hutu to complete this race. I don't know how Coanda are going to handle that situation with the top two at the moment, because De Jong is certainly faster than Kroenke, maybe a little bit shorter fueled.
Yeah, just having a look there, 7.4 seconds gap between Gregor Hutu and Ollie Pakala. In case you've missed it, live timing and scoring is available. Head over to RaceSpot.TV/timing. for all the latest up-to-date time statistics from this race. That's RaceSpot.TV/timing, and you'll be able to see that last time by a 1:31.907 there. Gregor Hutu, the first driver to break into the 1:31s in this event here today. So, four-time is certainly pushing, and he's getting used to this track, getting used to the car. You have got in-car adjustments that you can use here, Johnny. You've got brake beers, you've got engine mapping. Talk us through the ways that drivers can change the handle of their car whilst they're in the cockpit.
There's certainly many of options as the stint goes on. You know, the car gets lighter as well. You want to add a few pounds, maybe. You know, I know, for example, in the DW12, you know, especially through Indy, you add some sort of weird adjustments in those cars. But in Formula One, as I spoke about, the setup of a car and the adjustments, it's a world of existentialism, and what that means is you have freedom to do anything you want. And that's the best thing about Formula-type cars, especially Formula One, is these cars have so many setup options and adjustments you can make. You basically tune it to your style compared to maybe fixed setup series where you have to adjust your driving style to the setup. So we see these drivers as the stint progresses, sort of tighten up the car, loosen it up as you put fuel on, and we know the fuel tank to the rear of the car. You want to make sure that as the stint goes on, you have a bit more grip towards the end. So as we see a bit of situation going on down the pack.
Yeah, Kroenke's Martin Kroenke does his second stop of the day, 8-second pit stop, and Sebastian Job on pit road as well in the number 33 machine. He will be back out and away in a total time of 8.3 seconds. You'll notice the pace car is gold. We'll talk about that in just a little bit, and I'll have to do my Scott Goodyear overachiever moment where in IndyCar it's the anti-roll bar, both front and rear, and the weight jacket that they can use. Even though this isn't ESPN or ABC. Kazuki Yamashima is on pit road. It's a busy place down on pit road. Nakurian is into the pits as well, as is Dion Vergez. You just see that. Philo, we'll try and get ourselves another look at that. You just slid that car. Someone just slid their car, literally, out of their pit box. That was incredibly fun to watch. That was Kazuki Yamashima there, 8.8 seconds. He's back out and away. So I want to get another look at that, because we talked about wheel spin earlier on in this event, Johnny. We didn't see too much of it at the start of this race. We definitely see it by some drivers as they come in and out of pit road. Let's replay this one then with Kazuki Yamashima.
He's probably just giving his home fans something to cheer about right now. He's the only Japanese driver out there, and he's got a clear track at the moment, but you see the wheel spin, keeping it together. Good balance, probably having some fun as well coming out of his box, because he's going to finish around about the mid P15 spot for him as he enters next to the pit lane. Pakala as well into the pits.
As is Mitchell de Jong, so they can see Pakala going to complete his service in a time of 7.4 seconds. Mitchell de Jong is already out. Is that? Yeah, that's de Jong out ahead of Kroenke. De Jong is ahead of Martin Kroenke side by side. Did those two just touch? Was that Martin Kroenke? No, it's Andre Portra. Take that back. No. I think we just had an incident between, Martin Kroenke and potentially Mitchell de Jong. I'm not quite sure what happened there, but Martin Kroenke is officially behind Mitchell de Jong, and I think they may have made contact there down in the S's, or it was very, very close. We need to get ourselves another look then of this. We'll have a ride on board with Martin Kroenke. We've rewinded it just a little bit, but Martin Kroenke, Mitchell de Jong, that was very, very close there, Johnny.
Yeah, I'm not sure what's going on and which driver's who. I might even be confused with... Was that Rocco Brone?
As well. Yeah, Rocco
yeah, Andre Borcha. Yeah, Justin Lindsay actually as well was getting out of the way of these drivers, lap car. So many Coanda SimSport cars out there, Will. It's not helping us right now. They got a strong and in-depth team. So for them, importantly, as I mentioned, I had a feeling that de Jong would get in front of Kroenke as they pitted in traffic because of the fact that they were going to pit earlier than everybody else. So that's quite critical right now that Kroenke recovers from this. Most importantly, he's still in front of Pakula.
Yeah, but he can't do it just yet because the reason why is Ronnie Tamada is right there in the mix as well. And Yoni Tamada hasn't yet pitted. Gregor Hutu is on to pit road. So this is a little bit earlier than what you expected from Gregor Hutu. There you can see he's making himself his service. He is going to be out and away in a time of 6.9 seconds then as he heads back out onto the track. So very fast stop for Gregor Hutu. Out he comes. He is behind Pakula. So we expected that one to be the case. It is indeed the case as Gregor Hutu is still behind Ollie Pakula, but the gap is down to 5 seconds between those two drivers. There's Hutu, and then you can see Ollie Pakula just heading himself now up through Dunlop. There is Martin Kroenke. He's now got himself through to pit stops. It's just him behind Mitchell de Jong, but the gap is 2 seconds right now. This is going to be interesting as they work themselves down into the hairpin. 2 seconds is the gap, and you made a really useful point. You're going to have to wait until almost the last lap. This is going to be the same case for both the two drivers, the drivers, de Jong and Kroenke, as you'll have for Pakula Hutu, if you're going to swap positions around. And just to confirm, yes, we did make a mistake there. It was Justin Lindsay getting out of the way. Too many purple and orange cars on this racetrack.
Yeah, it's, I'm not even going to apologise for that. There's so many Coanda SimSport cars out there, but credit to that in-depth team. They have a lovely amount of drivers. Holtzman leads this race. Now, this is interesting, Will. I know some drivers like to ruin their strategy by a lap, just the fact that they want to lead a lap, maybe even in the WCS. Holtzman doesn't do that. I think he was probably classified as the leader last time around, maybe. But de Jong takes the lead. 2 seconds around. He wasn't, so he doesn't ruin his strategy, thinks more about the points rather than just pride, and I think that's a smart thing to do. As Kroenke, 2.3 seconds, and he's slower right now than Mitchell de Jong. De Jong's going to have to let go of a win and just give it to Martin for the championship. We saw that happen with Alonso and Massa in 2010. It did not work out, but you never know what might have happened. You know, if Vettel's car in the end maybe just would have blown up, you never know if Alonso would have won the championship. So this will all come down and be worth it in the end.
There we are. We've also got Ilkka Haapala. Then he's coming out of pit road. Pit stop time for him. Well, that's 8.1 seconds. So there we are then. Haapala is back out on track. It is Mitchell de Jong. Haapala is... has he got himself... Yeah. I think he's either not got fuel in that car or he's not. He's on the engine limit. Let's have a listen. I think he's not got... No, because I don't know what.
No, he's not on the engine limiter.
Yeah, he's not on the pit limiter. So, Ilkka Haapala, has he not got fuel in that car potentially? What's he doing?
It might be some sort of issue he's sorting. Could be an issue with the wheel. You never know right now. The car doesn't look damaged, and he's stopping. So his race is over, and we're not quite sure what happened there. We'll hopefully get word on it before the conclusion of this event. But his engine's still running. There we go. He's finally retired from the event, and that's really, really unfortunate for him. We'll find out hopefully soon enough, Will.
Yeah, there we are. We're having another look then. This is Ilkka Haapala coming out of pit road. Just listen to the engine note. First, second, into third. Then he slows the car down. Yeah, some technical issues there for Ilkka Haapala. And I'm not quite sure. Yeah, some technical issues indeed for the Orion Race Team car, the number 8 machine. We talked about how he's a series veteran here. He's a former winner in the series. Ilkka Haapala, not the day he would have wanted. However, he is currently on pit road. And that's a shame for Ilkka Haapala here today because he was having a pretty good race by all standards. Let's have a look then. Back to the battle out front. We're going to ride ourselves along board. This is with Martin Kroenke, the gap between himself and Mitchell de Jong well, it remained at about 2 seconds for the time being last time by. Kroenke was faster though, by 0.2 of a second, Johnny.
Yeah, so they're trading 10th by 10th here, corner by corner, and you know, speak about keeping concentration around this racetrack. This is where those drivers who train their mental fitness and what keeps them together is so important. As I'm reading Ilkka Hapala's comments right now, saying that third gear is just half throttle for him, so definitely a technical issue with his car, and I'm not sure what's going on. Tomala really attacking his teammate right now. Robin Friscops in front, could see a pass here into Spoon.
Yeah, let's have a look. We've seen, of course, a couple of passes into Spoon already here today. Matt Backer made a ton of them. We're not going to get another one. That was close between two iNEX Racing drivers. And that was Robin Friscops in the number 19 car. Of course, is on that one-stopper, the two-stopper for Jorni Tomala. Fresher tyres, fresher boots. They head themselves side by side on the run down to 130R. This should be easy pickings for Jorni Tomala as he heads down to the inside into the 130R. Indeed, he moves himself up one position. So, move Jorni Tomala up into 8. Move Robin Friscops down into P number 9 for the time being. There's 10 laps to go this time by. There is Mitchell de Jong in towards the first Dinger once again. Don't forget that when we finish this broadcast, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to head ourselves to Texas Motor Speedway as we are going to honour the life and the accomplishment of Justin Wilson. It is the Justin Wilson 150 from Texas Motor Speedway. Our start time for that will be shortly before 5 p.m. That's actually, yeah, right, 4 p.m. GMT. It's right here, a special presentation of RaceSpotTV on iRacingLive. Let's have a look then. Gap still 2 seconds, Johnny. Update me.
Yeah, so 2 seconds between de Jong and Kroenke. I think we've had the word of why Hapala had that technical issue, hit the wall on pit entry, and so that's basically just damaged the car. So in some sort of manner, I don't know, we don't really have any engineers to tell us why that occurred, but his race is over. I think that's what matters most to him, is the fact that he is not going to get a strong result, basically down in P24, classified as a DNF.
Yep. And I was going to say, if you're talking about technical issues, well, iRacing seems to have it all. It's got dynamic track surfaces. We talked about you can't have a top-level series without some form of controversial race at Indianapolis. We also had the third gear incident as well for Ilkka Hapala. So right on board then. Rocket Baroni in the Ferrari car and the Sim Sports car, hunting down Friscops. So we talk about that one-stop versus two-stop strategy. Looks like it's falling away in some ways for Friscops. He is, however, still up 13 places from where he started today's event.
Yeah, but you've got to be a bit smarter when those teammates were battling him and Tomala. That's I'm talking about Friscops and Tomala, because they spent too much time fighting with each other, and I think that it gives maybe 1 lap less now for Friscops to defend from Rocco Barone. And if that's the lap that matters in the end, because there's only 10 of them remaining, and if that keeps Friscops in P9 ahead of Barone, then that's what you need. So he was around about 1.2 seconds slower battling and letting through his teammate Jorni Tomala, so that's allowed Rocco to close up. I think Friscops will still end up hopefully with a top 10 finish, because he's had a great race, just slowly making his way through the field on strategy, being smart. And so for Rocco now in that Commanders car though, I wouldn't be surprised if he made his way through quite soon.
Yep, so we can have a look there on board with Rocco Baroni as he exits the hairpin, heading himself down towards Spoon Curve once again. Whilst you have the opportunity, let's run through your field. Brought to you by And1 Design. We're going to start at the front of the field, and it's Mitchell de Jong. He's pulled out now. 2.5 seconds is the gap between himself and that driver of Martin Kroenke. It's your turn to talk, Johnny.
Oh, excuse me, sorry. Yeah, gap between the top two, and it's been an incredible one. I've been a bit carried away there by a few things off the track as well. And so right now for de Jong and Kroenke, trying to lead this one away, and they're trying to really, they've broken away from Pakala, and I'm sure that de Jong will let Kroenke through for the win here. So de Jong, Kroenke, Pakala, P1, 2, 3, Hutu in 4th, who started down the order. A query where he was in, why he's been so far back than he normally is. He started in P13, a poor qualifying performance from him.
Yeah, so there you can see it on his car. He runs himself in P3. He's down 1 place from where he started here today. Gregor Hutu in P4. Well, Think about it this way, he's your biggest mover inside the top 10. He's up 9 places. That is an impressive feat. Although we will, after this race, talk about how many of those who actually overtook compared to what he did through strategy. Now, it doesn't matter. Both of them have their merits. You know, if you're going to be the thinker like Alain Prost, it's good. Especially if you bring the car home in one piece at the end. We'll talk about a couple of people who didn't do that also in our post-race coverage. Sebastian Joe, P5, not a bad runner here today by that Apex Racing UK car, Johnny. He sits in P5, up 2 places from where he started. Andre Borgia, just behind him in P6, also up 4 places.
Yeah, nice job from Seb, and he's going to slowly improve consistency. He's grown a lot this season, so I mean, I think for Sebastian, he's going to use these races as more development, trying new things, you know, because the best way to improve is to really go into the unknown. You know, if you're a driver who's not the best at overtaking, in these final races, try some overtaking moves you wouldn't really think of. You know, you might risk an incident, who knows. In the end, it's all a learning progress, and this is the best thing for Seb, is that if he continues with Apex Racing UK for next season, if he just improves his consistency and he's going to find those extra couple of tenths he needs, his potential, the sky's the limit, you know. And he needs to be a sponge. He needs to learn from guys, just grab in different data where, you know, he can pick up from his teammates, learn advice from those top guys that might speak to him a little now and then. But then when they're battling with him for championships, well, I'm really sure those drivers aren't going to stop giving him advice.
Yeah, indeed so. It's always an interesting dynamic. And actually, that's what Michael Schumacher did when he's in 1994 in Benetton. He actually did that. He got beaten by a teammate once in practice. He's like pulled the plug on data after that. Patrick Holtzman sits in P number 7 right now. Bavana Thrustmaster X Team up 4 places from where he started. Jordi Samara in iNext Racing up in P number 8, up 1 place from where he started right now. Not a bad day by the iNext Racing team. You've got Robin Friscops in 9th. He is up 15 places. Having to withstand the pressure right now from Rocco Baroni. That gap is just under 1 second. The record books will show that this has been a successful one-stop strategy for Robin Friscops. So I think that it's not bad. But, of course, he's got to make sure he's got enough gas to go to the end of the race. He did go longer than anyone else, lap 28 overall. He put 11.7 seconds worth of fuel in the tank, Johnny. And essentially, he should be good to go to the end. I don't see any fuel saving by him yet.
No, he'll be good to go to the end. I think there's 2 types of fuel saving, whether you forgot to put enough fuel in the car or whether you just like to think that that's faster. I've never found a reason to do it. I know a lot of teams in Formula 1 find, you know, that there's some sort of pace to be gained by fuel saving, you know, maybe when you're stuck behind traffic or something. Yes, you can, but you know, in terms of underfueling yourself, I really don't think. I think the fastest way around the racetrack is to just push yourself 100%, drive to the limit, and if you're carrying 1 or 2 liters of extra fuel, you're going to lose more time saving those 1 or 2 liters than you're going to gain. So, you know, it's something that these guys spend so much time under. I mean, the best in the world. I speak about it all the time, Will. The guys who finish in last place in this race will dominate, and I mean dominate, any amateur league you see out there. So these guys are the best. And it's great to see a humongous, gargantuan amount of viewers out there watching today.
Yeah, just to give an update, Cam Stark, he's a regular, he'll be running Pro Series, etc. along the line. He's asking, why do drivers feel safe? Well, sometimes they just forget, as did Jonas Akurin last time we worked with you. So sometimes drivers do mess up their numbers. And it's a thing that some of these drivers, they are very focused, they'll have someone doing their maths in them. But especially, this is a new phenomenon as well. They can talk to you as an IndyCar team manager and IndyCar sim racer here, that especially with dynamic track conditions, dynamic temperatures, fuel flow varies depending on the humidity, it varies depending on the track ambient temperature conditions, depends on the track conditions as well. So there is a chance that if you're running it very close, as a lot of these drivers do, the Korean, by the way, right on the rear of Martin Piatella as they head themselves down into the triangle. This is going to be an interesting battle to watch. Though, when these people run it right to the limit, you know, it is that 0.2 seconds worth of fuel that they don't think they have to put in, that all of a sudden the math turns around, and all of a sudden they did need that, as the Korean's going to sweep himself there past the driver of Martin Piatella, and he'll move himself up into P number 15 on this racetrack.
Yeah, and if you want to see an analogy for candy from a baby move, that was right there. Nick Karina just making his way through with ease. And you speak about fuel, Will. The interesting thing is some drivers will set up 2 fuel strategies. You know, one, if they qualify near the top and they expect to be in clear air and no slipstream, they'll go with their normal fuel strategy. But then when you're in mid-pack and you've had a poor qualifying performance, sometimes you might take off 1 or 2 liters because you just save that fuel from slipstreaming, and it's an incredible amount you do save. And you know, sometimes the first time for inexperienced drivers, they notice, they say, why have I finished the race with, you know, 6 or 7 liters more? And then they look at the replay and they spent 30 laps behind another guy. So it's you know, an important thing to look at as well, as Martin Kroenke is 6/10 slower than Olli Pakala. What is going on there? 1.2 seconds slower than De Jong. I'm pretty sure something quite horrid happened on that last lap.
Yeah, well, you know what? I was going to quote a Korn song here. Don't want to talk about politics. I think we're going to have to a little bit because of the fact that you've got De Jong Kroenke here, and that gap is a little bit too wide right now for Kroenke to be able to benefit from any form of teamwork. The same way, Gregor Hooter, he's 3.3 seconds behind Olli Pakala. As it stands, I don't think that's close enough. And I think that even though, I mean, there's the spirit of the rules, they always say in these circumstances, and there is nothing against team orders within the iRacing.com service, but there's always going to be, you've got the 2 biggest sim racing teams, you know, in this series, Koala Sim Sports and Team Redline. Radicals are, of course, one of the biggest teams in all of iRacing, but they have themselves a good day here. But the 2 biggest teams in this series, the 2 teams that's won World Championships, Coanda, adopting that lineage from Prix Motorsports, and Team Redline, they do not want to be seen. Their sponsors, we need to remember the sponsors here as well. Their sponsors will not be happy with someone slowing down 5 seconds to allow a driver to go past, especially if it's on a podium. I think this win is now going to be Mitchell de Jong's. Clear and simple. I'm sorry, Johnny, you cannot slow down 6 seconds, and Kroenke would not want it to work that way either, to be frank.
No, and that's certainly the case. You know, Kroenke is a great guy. He's a great team player, and that's what you get out of these guys near the top. You know, the world champions, they really want to get the team involved, and you know, Martin's a perfect example of that down in Coanda. They are a great group of guys. Probably, you know, if you had to talk about guys that get along extremely well in terms of team chemistry, Coanda's, you know, probably the epitome of what you'd say, you know, as a team that gets along well, camaraderie and everything like that. I think now, though, if De Jong would let Kroenke through, he's probably just proving the fact that he would have won this race by setting blitzing lap times right now. And I'm surprised, as I said before, he's ripping a hole in the space. 1 minute 31.6. What a lap. Wow. And if he's going through the space-time continuum, we're probably not going to see him for another 50 years from now, because that's incredible time.
Oh, wow, that's incredible. Yeah, De Jong is just flying once again. De Jong is showing why he is one of the greatest sim racing drivers on the planet right now. And this is the driver who's had to merge his duties in the iRacing.com World Championship Grand Prix Series with being a Red Bull Rallycross driver. So he's not been able to do a full season. You sometimes see the effect that has. Ati Kirchhoff, for example, he cannot race during the summer due to the fact he's got real-life racing commitments. Only a 132.081 that time by for Mitchell de Jong. But Martin Kroenke does a 132.776. Olli Pakala a 132.682 and 132.445 for Hooter. Ironically, out of that bunch, Hooter wasn't the fastest. It was De Jong that last time by. So De Jong is still pulling away like there's no tomorrow. This has got to be a bit of taste in the mouth, though, for Kroenke, because he's been outraced by his own teammate here today. He had the chance to put himself back in the championship contention. Yes, by a long shot, but he's not done it. And, you know, 2 rounds of championship to go. We've got Interlagos, and then we've got ourselves a run at Kota to go. It looks as though the lights are fading on another opportunity for a championship, the 2nd year in a row for Martin Kroenke. And hopefully going to try and get ourselves a word with Hugo Louise and figure out whether, I want to know from Hugo what that feeling's like to see a championship slipping away from you.
Well, I'll answer for him here. No, I'm joking. It's definitely not a good feeling. I'm pretty sure Hugo will elaborate on the detriments of that. Also has the experience of the excitement of winning a championship, especially in your rookie season as well, don't forget. So the only other championship winner in the WCS, De Jong, though, incredible lap times as well. I think, though, you know what, when you look at this, Will, if De Jong does cost himself a win here and let Kroenke through, in the end, you look at championships, And if Kroenke doesn't win a championship because of this race, and I know I'm clutching at straws here and saying that, you know, Hutu might crash out of the last 2 rounds, which probably will never happen.
Well,
but
no,
in the end, drivers,
though, he did crash out of 2 of the last 3 races last year.
Exactly right. So anything can happen. And so in the end, people look at championships, and if De Jong has 10 race wins but no championships, they're going to look at Kroenke with that 1 championship, and I think De Jong will still be proud that he helped the teammate out. And that's what you get out of teams like this. You see a lot of success, unless you're like, you know, a LeBron James or a Peyton Manning, a guy who's just absolutely dominant. Yeah, he's I mean, they're not going to be looked at any other way. Unless you're those guys, they're going to say they're great. But if you don't have championships and you're not as good as those guys, you're not going to be looked at as popular as, you know, the guys like Hutu.
Right, here we are. We've got ourselves a lap and a half to go here in the iRacing.com World Championship Grand Prix Series, round number 14 of 16, and there's no sign of slowing here. There's also no sign of Ollie Pacala slowing in terms of the Gregor Hutu battle. Give you an update, we have 19 drivers on the lead lap. The last one of those is this driver. It is Paul Ilbrink. Richard de Jong's actually closing up to him, there you can see. But it looks as though that we'll have 19 drivers finish on the lead lap. Richard Avery, Emil Henriksen, Benjamin Lindsay and Justin Lindsay are scored as a 1 lap down. Retirees in reverse order: Ilka Hapala, Danny Garcia-Filo, Tommaso Carter, Alexi Uciacola, Hugo Louise, Matt Backenbigger, Martin Isaac Price, Marcus Hamilton and Jeremy Bouteloup. So, high attrition rate here today, one of the highest that we've seen in quite a while. There'll be plenty to talk about. We're not being able to get all of it done in this post-race show, so we might have to do a nice little podcast to keep you updated on that one. But here comes Mitchell de Jong then, down in towards Denga number 1, into Denga number 2 for the final time in this afternoon's event. It has been an outstanding drive once again by Mitchell de Jong. Martin Kroenke, the last time by, actually was almost a full second slower than Mitchell de Jong, and he's also got Ollie Pacala potentially keeping him company. I wouldn't be surprised if Martin Kroenke is a litre short on fuel, because he has been slow the last couple of laps, in fact the last 10 laps. Mitchell de Jong now exit Osbourne Curve. He's only now got to brake 1 more time, because he'll be flat out from here until he gets down to the Casio Triangle for the final time in this event. The Red Bull Rallycross driver has been utterly outstanding here today. A Kawai the Sim Sports driver is going to win this race, but it's not the one that the team necessarily would have wanted it to be. Out of the final corner comes Mitchell de Jong. Mitchell de Jong will win round number 14 of the iRacing.com World Championship Grand Prix Series. Martin Kroenke is there in second place. It's a 1 second gap. Ollie Pacala slows down and he lets Gregor Hutu go through. Pacala allows Hutu to go through. That means that it will be the driver of Gregor Hutu who will finish on the podium. Ollie Pacala allowing his teammate to go past. It didn't happen at Coanda. Martin Kroenke will finish in second place. I am fascinated to see what the comments will be after this one. It will be then in P number 5, Sebastian Job. He's just going to work himself past the start-finish line now. I have to say, by the way, Kroenke has already gotten out of his race car. You don't need to drive back to the pit road as he used to. But I might just have been right there, Johnny, on the fuel situation. Maybe.
Yeah, certainly so. That was really, really close at the end. A lot of very unhappy fans with that red line thing. To be honest, you've got to be smart here, Will. If Pacala stays ahead of Hutu and that costs Gregor the championship, then you go back in this race and you say shoulda, coulda, woulda. Pacala's basically sealed 3rd place in this championship based on Hugo Luis's DNF from this race. There's no point. It's a 3rd place finish. What does that matter? You know, you're letting Gregor through. You're letting through a guy who you're helping your teammate out. You're being unselfish. And this is where people succeed in the world. Not just in sim racing, but in general, is that you stay unselfish. You help those that have helped you out as well. You know, these guys train together. They work together. And that's what happened at the end. Pacala's decided to play the team game and give Hutu that 1 extra spot.
Yeah. I'm intrigued. We have to say, in interest of full impartiality, Team Redline have just said there were no team orders, and I will completely believe them with that one. No team orders there from Team Redline. There is a little but. No pun intended. That needs to come into that one, however. And I think it will just be, again, just spirit of the rules. We're just going to get ourselves a replay there. Now, I'm not saying that Team Redline will be penalised and anything is actually done wrong. I think it's always that one over differing opinions. There you can see, well, Oli Picala on the final corner. I always have to make these comments as well. You are going to do it. You make it interesting. You spin or something. Because there's plenty of time there. But hey, we'll talk about that one in a couple of moments' time. Congratulations, though. Mitchell de Jong is your winner of this round number 14 of the iRacing.com World Championship Grand Prix Series. Here's your final race results. Mitchell de Jong, Coanda Sim Sports, claims victory by 7.7 seconds over Martin Kroenke. Now there's a chance that de Jong is just one step closer now to claiming P number 4 in the championship. Then we've got Martin Kroenke in second, we've got Gregor Hooter in third, Oli Picala in fourth, Sebastian Job. Then we've got ourselves Andre Borcher, Patrick Holtzman, Yorni Tamana, Robin Friskops and Rocco Baroni rounding out your top 10. So, there is your top 10 up on your screen. We have a look back, and you can see Mo Garfilo is in the 11th place. Having a look, Alex Simpson is in P number 12. Antoine Heglin in 13th. Jonas Ducorin in 14th. Kazuki Omashima in 15th. Marty Piatella in P number 16. Then you've got yourself in P number, Marty Piatella, Dion Verges, Tomo Meglek, Paul Ilbrink, and Richard Avery. The rest of those results are cycling up on your screen. Now, we are going to have to keep our post-race coverage relatively short here today, ladies and gentlemen, mainly because of the fact that coming up next here on RaceSpotTV and on iRacingLive, it will be the Justin Wilson 150. We're going to have ourselves not one, but two broadcasts of that happening simultaneously. We've got the top two splits covered as some of the world's best IndyCar drivers pay their respects to the one and only gentle giant Justin Wilson, of course, lost his life a couple of weeks ago at Pocono Raceway. But before we do that, we have a word with Mitchell de Jong. He claims victory here today. Mitchell, welcome back. It's been a while, but welcome back to iRacing.com World Championship Victory Lane.
Yeah, thank you. If you would have told me the outcome before the race, I definitely wouldn't have believed you. But I still kind of am in shock that it went this well. But oh man, that was such a fun race.
Well, entertaining race. It's been a tough race for you as well. You know, you had to work yourself against the 8 ball. You got past Martin Kroenke on pit stops. How surprised were you by that?
Yeah, it was an interesting race. Basically, I knew that I had quite a lot more fuel in the first stint, so pretty much halfway through it, I shut off all my relative timing boxes and had no data up, so I couldn't see times or gaps to anyone, and I just tried to drive at my own pace and see how fast I could go, and you know, I pretty much stayed with that the entire race, and before I knew it, we were pretty close to my teammate Martin, and I had a feeling once again he was going to be pitting one lap shorter or sooner rather, and yeah, I was just kind of waiting for that stop, and it worked out.
Well, yeah, of course. The big thing that's playing on everyone's mind here, as I say, it's going a little bit crazy right now on our live chat, was the fact that, of course, Martin Kroenke probably needed that win in order to give himself any chance at a championship. Was there at any point that you might have thought of moving to just allow Martin to win that race?
Well, he's got, or for some reason, his car was damaged in the pits. Something to do with aero. So, for whatever reason, so I saw him dropping back quite drastically, and I think the big fear there is if I, you know, was to drop back that far, then I'm under attack from Ollie, who also was really fast on the straightaways and very fast on pace. So, it's kind of a tough deal, and it was it's really tough call. I mean, for sure, if at the end it was closer, the for sure would be worth considering a bit more. But tough to say.
You make a useful point actually, because at the end of that race it was only 9/10 of a second between Olli Pekala and the driver of Martin Kroenke before they came down into the triangle, so it potentially could have been a very crazy situation. Actually, it was a crazy situation, of course, the last time we were here at Suzuka. But you win the race, congratulations, and of course 2 rounds of the championship to go. I know your teammate Hugo Louise is a little bit desperate for you to stop winning races now, because otherwise you might overtake him in the championship.
Yeah, I'm actually not sure what happened to him. But oh yeah, so sucks to see that that happened. But I'm just doing the best I can. I'm definitely not hoping anyone has any troubles or anything like that. But just more of to see how much we can get ahead.
Well, congratulations on the race win, Mitchell de Jong. Before we let you go, a chance to thank your sponsors.
Yeah, absolutely. For sure, I want to thank my teammates for, the awesome preparation with just the little time we had after the update. For Racer, and We're in Design and RaceSpot, and Leo Bodner. That's about it.
Mitchell de Jong, race winner once again here in the iRacing.com World Championship Grand Prix Series. Johnny Simone, he's going to have a word with the one and only Olli Pekala.
Some huge trash talk going on right now with a few people. But anyway, Ollie, a great result from you. And we were speaking about it before in the chat. First of all, letting your teammate through, Gregor, and fans will complain that's not what they want. But in the end, it's smart, because you've basically got P3 sealed in the championship, and all the hard work's been done until now. You just want to help out your teammate and supporting partner.
Yeah. Thanks, and obviously the decision. I was catching towards the end, Martin. I think they had a little bit of fuel miscalculation or something like that. Obviously, I wanted to try to catch Martin, but at the early phase of the race, I saw that Hugo did not finish. He had some problems and did not finish. And Hugo is the biggest competitor for P3 in the championship, and so it relieved me for the race. And I knew that Mitchell is around 110 points behind me, so I don't mind if he wins and I'm P10 or something like that. So I thought that Gregory needs those 3 points and third finish for the championship. So, and I don't need those 3 points, so might as well give it to him. So I don't know if people understand or not, but that was my decision, and I wanted to help my teammate. It wasn't team order. Dom wasn't chatting to us or anything. It was totally my decision, and based on I wanna help my friends.
In terms of, we'll focus more on the racetrack now. In terms of driver feel, the new dynamic track, we saw in qualifying the drastic change it had, towards the end of the session, but in the race, could you really feel that difference this time around as the race progressed? I mean, did you have to set up your car differently to suit the end of the race, or compared to the start? I mean, what type of difference did the dynamic track make?
Oh yeah, definitely. There is a huge difference when at the starting phase of the race and in the last stint, because it's huge. I did a mistake with my setup. I put too much downforce because I didn't know the grip levels, but obviously it was very nice, very enjoyable to race the dynamic track, and hoping to race it more.
There you go, Will. Ollie, another P4, great result from him, and I think we have to move on. Ollie, you have a few more comments to say.
Quickly. Greetings to Owen and the 2 dozen of people in that bar. I did my thing, but I couldn't deliver my stuff. Thank you for Nelly and all the people around me. Thank you, Will, and hashtag.
Kiitos. Oli Pakal, ladies and gentlemen. Hugo Louise isn't going to talk to us. He is just a little bit angry. Actually, I don't know. I'm going to see. Mr. Hugo Louise, in 10 words, sum up your race here today, if you would.
I love you all. Brazil.
That's
Well,
5.
Oh, yeah, okay.
But
yeah,
why not
unfortunately,
Finland?
The accident was. I was not happy about the incident, of course, but it's all fine. Let's move on.
There you can see. Boy spirits there for Hugo Louise, and of course that will be one of the talking points of this event. There are many talking points out of this event. We've got to be quick here, Johnny, but I want to talk about the one of them. Gregor Hutu does claim a podium here, but with the exception of the final corner, I don't think I actually saw him overtake anyone. That was all done in strategy. Now, that's not a bad thing if you can use strategy to your advantage, but at the start of that race, Hutu wasn't able to overtake drivers. He could have potentially have got a podium outright if that car was just a little bit better in a straight line.
Yeah, exactly the case. As well as fuel, we know in the first stint he was, heavier fuel than everybody else, so that definitely slowed him down. But qualifying is the most important thing, Will, and we've seen it this season from the start. When Hutu wasn't winning the races and his teammate Alexi won the first 2, then we had Mitchell at Sebring. So in the end, for Gregor, once he started nailing qualifying, grabbing pole position, getting near the top 3 places, that's when he started to win races. And this time out, you see once again, P3 didn't win a race, ended up 11.5 seconds away from Mitchell, who grabbed the win. So really important for these last 2 races, if he wants to seal this championship, to practice and ensure he nails qualifying.
Yep, there are still 2 rounds remaining of this championship, ladies and gentlemen. Next time out, it could well be Championship Saturday as we head to Brazil, to Interlagos, where Gregor Hutu seeks a 5th iRacing.com World Championship. It's going to be a tough one. If Martin Quonke wins, it might well go down to the final round of the championship. But if Hutu can win, etch his name on that trophy one more time. That's all we've got time for here today, ladies and gentlemen. Don't forget, coming your way in literally 10 minutes' time, we honour the life and the legacy of Justin Wilson here on RaceSpotTV and iRacingLive with not 1, but 2 streams of the Justin Wilson 150 from Texas Motor Speedway. Coming on later tonight on RaceSpotTV, we got the Skip Barber 2K Eliminator. If you think Sunday night skippies are fun, wait until you get rid of the slowest driver on track at the end of every single lap. Thank you very much to Johnny Simone, my broadcast partner here today. This has been a special presentation of RaceSpotTV on iRacingLive. Myself, Will Vincent, will talk to you all next time. Congratulations to Mitchell de Jong.